You're listening to Pave Media Show.
Visit pavemedia.net for more podcasts and video entertainment.
Welcome, everyone, to the second part of our Marvel Cinematic Universe rewatch.
Ooh.
I'm Brandon T. McClure. With me on this journey, as always, is Sparks.
Hey.
Ryan Eliopoulos.
There it is.
Ben Magnet.
Avengers Assemble!
Not yet.
RJ. Do you?
No, RDJ. No, RDJ.
RJ.
You're RJ.
You know why I
RJ.
meant to bring that up? I meant to bring up earlier that it was making me think of the guy from Lost World who ran into the grass. Not into the long grass.
You get me.
Is that
he
like-
hates that movie.
You don't like The Lost World?
It's not that I
hates too strong.
Hates
I
strong.
apologize.
I don't think there's been a good Jurassic Park sequel.
We are now doing a Jurassic Park rewatch.
No, we are not.
Lost
Today's not
World.
the day for
Lost
that.
World is the best of the sequels.
Up top.
That's
I'll accept that.
that's
I'll accept that.
the extent of my like for it.
I'll accept
All right.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are, as you guys know, we are doing, you should know by now, we are doing a rewatch of all the Marvel Cinematic Universe films up until Avengers Endgame. Now, this is not including Captain Marvel, because that just recently came out in theaters.
Although, I had a quick question. Did we want to let Ben just share a few of his thoughts about Captain Marvel before or after we talk about these four?
Let's do after.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's smart. Because Ben didn't have the opportunity to be on the
Right.
review with us.
So let's do that after. We are, the last special we did, just a quick recap, we did Iron Man 2 Thor.
Chronological order.
To differentiate ourselves
So
from the other ones.
you mean Captain America: The First Avenger through 4?
Right. So it was Captain America, Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, and Thor.
Yes.
And now we are at Avengers, Iron Man 3, Thor: The Dark World, and Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
So shall we get right into it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we're in Avengers.
Starting with a barn burner, Jesus.
Yeah. So this was now initial thoughts, guys. Initial thoughts. Throw yourself back to 2012.
Oh, you mean
7 years ago.
Oh God!
What the Avengers is coming out.
I still didn't believe this movie was coming out until I was in that theater.
No, you did not. I didn't even know you back then.
Yeah.
I mean,
Obviously, I knew the movie was real. Like, I
Yes.
saw the movie at midnight. With
Saw
all
the
my
trailers.
with all my homies. But I'm like, we made it. Like, every time a big thing happens, but, like, this was the first time where it's like, holy shit, they really did it, and it's awesome.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everything we wanted came true. Like, every geek in the world was, like, on Cloud 9 or whatever it's called. Cloud 9? Is that what
Yeah,
it's
Cloud
called?
9.
Yeah. It's a...
Clearly,
it's
you've never been.
No. I've made it, like, 7.
Oh.
Yeah. This movie's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ben, throw yourself back to 2012.
Oh, no, I remember the day. I remember the day beautifully. I woke up. I went to. I was going to a junior college at the time, and I was doing a morning radio show. 90% of that show was myself and my co-host talking about the Avengers, just talking about how hyped
Fake
we
nerd
are.
since college. I love it.
Talking about how hyped we are. And after my classes were done, I drove an hour and a half to.
Did we see this together?
We did.
Okay.
You told me, Ben, I need you out here in Northridge because you were going to see some of those before I went back. And I drove out to a midnight premiere. We waited outside the theater. I think it was in Winnetka.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was
yes, yes,
Winnetka
yes.
for
The Winnetka Theater over in Northridge.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I might have.
we went out.
You in the same
I
showing?
might have seen it there too.
Oh,
Ryan.
I was definitely. I moved here like in 2011, and I saw it. I saw it in LA.
Ryan,
Yeah,
we're connected.
we are
You were
connected.
there.
Oh yeah,
Sparks, were you there too?
No.
Oh,
I definitely was not there.
definitely not.
no,
okay.
but I remember you and I and other people who were with us at the time. We were just sitting out. We just couldn't be happier. We get inside right when the screen went
You're
dark.
waiting in line.
Yeah, that was
Waiting in a long line, getting ready. You're all excited to see this
for a
movie.
midnight premiere.
We saw it 3D. We got the special 3D glasses.
We did. Actually, no, you got the 3D glasses before. We just got the normal ones.
Oh, you're right. You're
Yeah,
right.
but right when the theater went dark, Brad had yelled Avengers, and myself and the other people with yelled Assemble. No one else caught on.
I
which is
recall
fine.
this. I recall this. I had this plan. I was like, okay, we're gonna when the movie starts, I'm gonna yell out Avengers, and hopefully everyone will say Assemble.
we're all nerds in
We're
here,
all
right?
nerds here.
Obviously,
Yeah.
Nobody did it,
And
so that did not happen.
Nope.
I have not done it
Yeah,
since.
I didn't take that risk when I went to my midnight showing. I just shouted the full thing
Avengers
instead
Assemble.
of Avengers Assemble.
That's-
I
that
had
was
my little
smart.
Captain America shield that was a
Aw.
frisbee right
Nice.
on my wrist.
Yeah. That was smarter.
Yeah,
I've never done it since. Maybe I'll do it for Endgame.
I take risks.
No, but that night it was one of the greatest films I've seen on the big screen.
Yeah,
that
it's definitely
summer.
like in terms of like theatrical events.
Yeah.
Like I think Avengers is definitely like top 5.
So Sparks, initial thoughts.
I remember telling people that I knew that I thought this was going to be the biggest movie that wasn't a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Oh.
It very much reminded me of a Star Wars level hype, an event kind of film, not the likes of which we haven't seen.
And this
since
is back
Star
when
Wars.
like there weren't going to be more Star Wars films, and
Yeah.
so
And
it's
we
like,
didn't see a new one of these every 3 months.
Yeah, and so it was like I think this is going to be
This
Star
was-
Wars level.
This was a year after Captain America: The First Avenger.
Yeah.
Like there was a large gap between Captain America and Avengers.
Even though we got that teaser at the end of that movie, I'm still like, it's not real. You
they're
guys.
they're punking you
I'm getting punked. Like I'm just waiting for the rug to be pulled under me.
Yeah.
Right, I've been looking,
out from under me.
I was
Out from
looking
under me.
forward as I said in our last special. I was looking forward to Avengers.
You couldn't stop saying it.
Yeah,
Yes.
I couldn't stop because I couldn't believe it was going to happen. There was no such thing as a Justice League movie at the time. There was not even hope for a Justice League movie because the Nolan films were in full swing, and there's no thought of a Superman film. But
I had my
except
arc
with Man of
reactor
Steel.
before Avengers came
Yeah,
out.
you had your arc reactor before Avengers.
I
came
didn't
out.
wait. I didn't wait.
God.
No, I could
We get
not,
it. You're a nerd.
I am. I'm super fake.
I couldn't believe a team up movie of this magnitude was happening and how good it is, and it still holds.
Yo, man,
up
we
to
got
this
one. It's called
day.
Mystery Man.
Shut up! No,
Oh boy.
I don't
That
even know.
movie's good.
I don't even know. What
Ooh, are we having? Oh, guys, Mystery Man. Don't sleep on it.
No, I'm just talking about the poll, not necessarily its
No, I
quality.
know.
Like
Yeah.
he is.
Yeah.
Jesus, I was already like throughout the 4 years prior to this, I was so far into this franchise that I was like, okay, wow, we're making it. We knew the MacGuffin, we knew it was the Tesseract because it was the MacGuffin for all the movies.
Yeah.
And man, I was just so excited. I don't remember being so excited for a movie. I wasn't excited for Age of Ultron. Not nearly as excited as I was for Avengers. Like
Yeah,
Avengers
sure.
was
because like
it.
that initial like surprise.
Yeah.
Like any big franchise that has their first opening.
Like holy shit!
Yeah.
And like the money shot in the trailer of the twirling around. Oh boy!
Yeah.
Oh man!
And
Yeah.
that's not even like the coolest shot in that movie, which just lends credence to how awesome that movie is and how
So-
full of awesome stuff it is.
So let's get into it. I do want to start with this because I don't want to. I'm gonna get some flack for this.
Right.
There are two things I don't like about the film, and I continue to dislike.
Is it the opening?
There are 3 things I don't like about this film, and I continue to not like them
Yeah.
throughout subsequent viewings. I'm not crazy about the opening.
I think upon rewatching this movie over and over, I think the opening is like the absolute worst part of the movie.
Yeah.
If there are a worst part,
If
but like
there are-
I think it opens very flat. I think
Yes.
it just like throws you in. I think like the stuff with Hawkeye real fast, just him turning evil. It's
a
like
real weird.
It's
and
really
None
fast.
of the films have ever opened like this since,
Yeah.
or back then. Like it's a real weird open with the Tesseract and the Paramount logo. This is
Yeah.
the first film distributed by Disney. However,
Yeah.
Paramount still had their logo on it.
And again, it's not like bad. It's just like it felt kind of flat.
Yeah, it's
and I
really
was
weird.
like, okay, yeah, this is fun and cool, but like it isn't until after that where you're like, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other thing is, I don't much care for Captain America's portrayal throughout 80% of this film. I think he is too much of a
Boy Scout?
dick. I think he's too much of a dick in this movie.
I will
for
say-
a lot of
yeah,
it, not
yeah.
for all of it. And then I'm not crazy about the production design, the set design specifically of the film. I think if some of it falls a little flat. And that
yeah.
said, the film is a solid
Yeah.
watch.
Well, we watched a video on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I think a lot of it is
Part
because
2's out.
Part 2 is out. Yes, this guy named Patrick Willems does this incredible, like, in-depth view of the Marvel
you
Cinematic
watched it
Universe.
yet?
No, I was gonna wait.
I
for
haven't
you.
either, yeah.
Yes, I was hoping you were gonna wait for me. But his whole thing is like Joss Whedon, great dialogue writer. He's a television guy,
Yeah.
and a lot of the shots are like from TV. They're static, flat shots of just people talking.
Yes.
So a lot of the movie is that, but then that allows you to have the really great creative action scenes, which are not boring.
I do think the action sequences are where
The
this
action
film
scenes are stellar.
Are the highlight of this film are the
Yeah.
action sequences. I think largely, but not necessarily due to Joss Whedon, but a lot of people behind the scenes,
Yeah.
the choreographers, the special effects artists, like a lot of that stuff really really lands. Anyway.
I want to counter your opening arguments.
Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I kind of I actually like the opening. I prefer that it opens without Thor, Iron Man, or Captain America.
Yeah.
Any of the big heroes who would be bringing people to the theaters. But it opens with the Tesseract for Captain America, Selvig for Thor, and Shield personnel for Iron Man. People you've seen in the other movies, because this was at a time when there was no guarantee everyone going to see Avengers saw Thor
Sure.
or Captain America and only saw
I
Iron
mean, that's
Man,
why Captain America the way he
or
is.
like only saw Captain America but didn't see. You get what I'm saying with that,
Right, yeah.
I thought that opening actually did a really good job of anybody who was that loose strand still like keeping them like, hey, this is why this thing's connected to these other things. Here's where we're going, because you kind of got to bring them in that way. You can't be like, well, this is Iron Man's movie, so we're going to open with Iron Man. You know, this is everybody's movie, so we don't open with any of them.
Yeah.
Right.
And
there was
I
a-
thought
there was a
I thought
fear-
that was a good precedent.
There was a fear going in that it would just be
Iron Man.
Man's film because this was
Sure.
because he was the most famous of the Avengers.
A lot of people I remember hearing about when Avengers was coming out, because a lot of people's fear of this was like, oh, they're gonna focus too much on one character, and
Like,
then
how can you possibly
like they're gonna
give
focus
them
too much on
all
Iron Man,
stuff?
they're gonna focus too much on
Do
Captain
you know
America.
how you possibly do it? You give one of them nothing to do.
Yeah, but they're saying it's like, hey, they're gonna focus too much on one hero and not give everyone due screen time. Thank God that's not true. Yeah.
Right.
I do think the criticism that Hawkeye is underserved is valid.
I just think it's a bummer that like he finally gets to be in a movie and 2/3 of it he's like under brainwash.
Yeah.
So he has no character in that movie.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, it is.
he
a bit
really
of a-
doesn't. He's a cool badass. The Hawks.
Yeah,
like,
he's a
Age
cool-
of Ultron is where he gets the character.
Exactly. I was
development.
about to say. I mean, jumping forward a little
Yeah.
bit in our specials, but Age of Ultron is where he gets to shine a little bit more,
Sure.
and I'm happy for that.
Yeah. I think that's Hawkeye's just. I agree, but I'm also like, I'm willing to take it for everything else to be developed as well as it was.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there was room to develop Hawkeye, and honestly, because he isn't developed in any movie previously, you would have to.
Yeah.
There isn't really room for it, so he's just kind of got to be a essentially a glorified extra Shield
Yeah.
personnel.
But that's what bums me out. Like he's teased in Thor, and then he finally shows up, but he's literally not the character for most of the movie. And
Sure.
I think it is a disservice to that character a little bit. Like again, it doesn't ruin any
I
of
think
the
it's
plot
a,
stuff.
I think it's a valid criticism. However, it doesn't ruin the film.
Again, it doesn't ruin it. I kind of wish it went a different way. But
Yeah.
again, we get Age of Ultron, where like his whole thing is like, I don't want to be brainwashed again.
Yeah.
Like it makes it better in the end.
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Did you want to counter any other thing?
I think Tom Hiddleston's real cool when he comes right in, all messed up and
that is cool.
Yeah, he looks spooky.
off the rails.
Yeah.
It's a good place to pick up right out of Thor.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
and
If we're talking about the opening, I just
we're introduced to the other early on, which is
He's got 6 fingers.
Alexis Denizov
yeah.
from Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Uh-huh.
Great voice.
who we don't see again until Guardians.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's him.
It is. It
No,
is.
it's
It is
definitely
guaranteed.
In
him.
Guardians of the
Oh,
Galaxy? Okay.
Oh yeah.
It is guaranteed him. So the film opens with an interesting
Loki
cold
gets
open.
the Tesseract.
Loki does get the Tesseract, and he goes into the wind. This is one of my favorite things about the movie is when we're introduced to each of the Avengers. In this film, and I've talked about it before, but in this film, each of the Avengers is introduced with a line of dialogue that precedes it. So when Fury goes to Captain America and talks about the Tesseract, he says, "Do you have any advice for us? What we should do?"
Yeah,
and,
I was gonna
and
bring
Should've
up
left
the
it
same-
in the ocean?
Cap says you should have left it in the ocean. Cut to Iron Man in the ocean.
Yeah.
And I thought that was real cool.
Yeah.
And
One
then
of
when
my-
there's still two other ones when who was the
Black Widow.
the we need soldiers line is preceded directly before Captain America, and then the Thor line is when they're seeing the lightning and thunder is like, you're scared of a little lightning. I'm not overly fond of what follows.
Yeah, that-
and then Thor comes crashing in. I thought that was real cool.
It's perfect comic book representation of a page turn.
yes,
Like that's what I think the Avengers more than almost maybe any other comic book movie does right. Like those moments where you turn the page and like, oh hell yeah, this is a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's
Yeah.
Thor. I think I really like Thor and Loki's interaction on the ledge.
And it's perfect because there's definitely a lot of people who didn't see those origin movies before
Yeah.
Avengers, and I think that's why Captain America is distilled, because that's what the Avengers is. It's all the characters distilled into their most true facsimiles of their personality, even if it's a little like hard for Steve, like he's a little tougher. But like you understand Thor and Loki's relationship immediately. You know, Loki's the bad dude, and Thor just wants to be a good brother. You get that with like a couple lines of dialogue.
When they're talking about Odin,
Yeah.
two ravens fly by the screen.
Yeah.
I thought
Yes.
that-
Odin's like, what are my sons doing?
I always thought that was
Yeah.
cool. There's a lot of good stuff. I think the action sequence between the three of them, or between Iron Man and Thor, is really fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The
Like when
banter
Thor-
between the two.
Like when Thor shocks him and Jarvis is like, "Powered at full 100%, sir."
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah,
Just blast him.
it just keeps going back and forth, like underestimating, overestimating each other. Like like all the action, it serves the characters and it serves the plot. Like this movie just knows how to do everything right,
And the
Doth
pacing's
Mother-
really strong.
and the pacing
It
is really
yeah.
strong.
It needs to be a tight film because we're doing something that's never been done before.
Sure.
Yeah.
You're creating the equivalent of a comic book event.
Yeah.
But in a 2.5 hour. Actually, no. The film's not even 2.5 hours. The film's surprisingly shorter
Yeah.
than I
Yeah.
anticipated. the film is a masterclass in a balancing act, and this is where I think getting Joss Whedon was the right idea, because he balances character work like that. He balances all these characters.
Everything he works on is about a group of people.
Yes,
He works with groups really well.
So he knows how to balance them, and he uses Captain America as the viewpoint of all the other characters, and I think that's really well executed in the film.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like small moments, I really enjoy when Natasha goes to get Bruce.
Oh,
Yeah.
And where we pick up with Bruce, which is a good transitional place from Incredible Hulk.
Yes.
Agreed.
She says, "You've been so many days without an incident," which is still exactly what they called it when they did the counters in Incredible Hulk, and I appreciated that.
Yeah, I did too. I there's some subtle bits where they're talking about like things I can't have, and he pushes the cradle. He's like, can't have
Aw.
kids, and there's some really sweet touches in there.
When Mark Ruffalo was first casted, like, were you guys cool with it?
I didn't know Mark Ruffalo from anything.
I didn't know.
I hadn't seen him before.
I was a little like, oh, I think when I first saw Mark Ruffalo in the trailers as
You'd
Bruce
seen
Banner,
13 going on 30 by then.
I don't think I have seen
honestly,
13 going
that
by
might have
30.
been like
I'm
one of
pretty
the.
sure you have.
I don't think I have.
I'll look it up.
I never saw that movie, but I was like, hey, where's the other guy? But then I just got over it because I'm like, oh, he must have didn't want to do it again, so whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there is not to get too much into the behind the scenes stuff, but this is still, Ike Perlmutter was still meddling with the cinematic universe at this point.
Yeah.
Kevin Feige didn't have the control that he has now, and there was a lot of behind the scenes stuff with Edward Norton that Joss Whedon was talking about how.
We
real
talked a
quick.
bit about this when we did Incredible Hulk also.
Yeah.
Mark Ruffalo, before Avengers, was an Eternal Sunshine on the Spotless Mind,
Which I did
Zodiac,
see.
Zodiac, Shutter Island. So I definitely knew of him.
He was in Shutter Island?
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't remember
Yeah,
him
he's
in
a
Shutter
partner.
Island.
I have
the main
not seen Shutter Island.
It's good.
No, I've seen Shutter Island. I just don't remember him in it.
I'm not saying you
So-
didn't. Anyway.
Ben, the makeup was good. That's a callback.
Call back to
So-
the last episode or to the podcast episode.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought. So move
It's
on.
okay. We were talking about the
Right,
Mark
so
Ruffalo,
the-
Edward Norton thing,
Yeah, the Edward Norton thing,
which we talked about some
I
when we did Incredible
just bring
Hulk.
it up because, like, I know I was like, the Incredible Hulk's like, whatever, how you feel about it, but like, seeing Mark Ruffalo, I'm like, I'm totally happy with this recast. He's totally great for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially he's a little more kooky than Edward Norton.
The,
and I
des-
prefer
the
it.
design of the Hulk doesn't really do it for me in this film. Design wise, they definitely. This was, and this has continued on.
He's more animalistic. Like
He's a
like a
lot
gorilla.
more burly and gorilla like, and much more like a caveman. They give him a little hint of the
big brow?
of the big brow that
Yeah.
he had in the early comics. Like I said, I'm in the minority who likes the
Incredible Hulk?
the Incredible Hulk look.
like very top heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I'm not willing to die on that hill.
Yeah.
But I realize
It did
where I
look
stand.
incredible in the film, though.
Ah.
No. What I'm saying is visually,
Oh yes.
the technology of bringing Hulk into this movie looked really good.
I agree.
Yeah.
Seeing,
You can
seeing-
justify your pun all you want, sir, but I'm still disappointed in you making it.
I don't
Immortal.
know. I didn't know what pun I made.
Incredible Hulk.
Oh,
Jesus.
I didn't do it on purpose.
Come on.
No, normally I do. That wasn't on purpose.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I've said it. I think I've said it before, but I think Mark Ruffalo's kind of retrospectively is weakest as Bruce Banner in this film. I know it's his first movie, but
Yeah.
it's one where when I saw the first Avengers, I was like, I kind of miss Edward's Bruce.
Yeah.
I felt
Yeah.
that way with when Avengers came out. I don't feel that as much these days, but back then I was definitely like, I'm not crazy about your interpretation of Bruce.
You know what scene I really liked though, bouncing off of that, is the scene where they're in the Wishbone and when they are talking about just how Bruce kind of keeps it in control. That whole scene between Tony and Bruce, I think, is actually really solid. Up until the part where, and I'll get to a little fun fact here, when he jabs him with the little thing and like shocks Bruce, and then Cap comes in. Now, fun fact about that scene: Captain America was in that scene from the start.
Oh.
He's in the room. They edited. They CG'd him out. He's actually sitting on one of the crates watching this interaction. And so when he shows up, if you actually watch it, when he shows up, he's not coming from the door. He had just hopped off the crate.
Huh. Okay.
And once you know that scene is real weird.
Yeah.
He's just sitting there the whole
He's
time.
like Drax, just like sitting there. No one knows.
Brand's like, I hope I ruined that moment for you. Never see it the same.
See, I love things like that
Yeah.
because like it's movie making. Like
Yeah.
things happen and you don't even realize. Like in the edit, it saves a lot of things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they added the sound effect of the door opening to give it the illusion that he had just come in at that
Yeah,
moment.
sure.
I think that scene is really good. The two of them bonding together, and
Science bros.
and
yeah.
you get the realization that RDJ, Robert Downey Jr. Ben, had had hidden food around the set,
Like blueberries or
or whatever, and he just like would pull it out of the set, and it got to the point where they couldn't find it. They couldn't find any of them, so they just let him do it. So he
Right.
would just eat while they were shooting.
Yeah,
I like
it's pretty
that.
good.
Yeah,
I thought that the relationship between Pepper and Tony for the one scene that we get it is already a lot better than it was in Iron Man 2.
agreed.
Well, I think a lot of things are.
Yeah, but I mean, like, actually, I believe that relationship. I didn't really feel it in Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
Because of the way it was
It's
written.
a little weird that she's dressed in like short shorts. They like Joss Whedon sexualizes Gwyneth Paltrow more
Hey, man, it's hot in
than
the
she
summer.
was sexualized in the two Iron Man films.
Yeah.
I will say, I think both Pepper and Tony look weirdly old in this movie. Not like old. I think old is wrong, but they older than the last two movies, and definitely older than the next film. Like for whatever reason, there's more gray in Downey's hair. There's less makeup on Paltrow. I think it's a little interesting direction. I don't think it's a criticism. I just think it's a strange like stylistic choice.
Yeah, maybe because he's like, besides like Hawkeye, but like of like the main guys, like he's the only like real regular human. So they really want to focus on like, look how human he is, and he is older, and
maybe.
Steve's not a super soldier, or he's a super soldier, and Thor's a god,
Yeah.
and the Hulk turns into a giant monster. He's just a dude. He's a
Maybe.
smart dude.
That could be. Then in Iron Man 3, looked much younger.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of. I think
it's the haircut, and
I think so
stuff,
too. I think
Yeah.
early days they weren't quite sure how old they wanted Tony Stark to be,
Sure.
and I think that kind of like shot themselves in the foot
Yeah.
a couple of times with the timeline there.
Just keep him oldish. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that's just a weird observation I always make.
Is it called the wishbone?
Yeah, where the lab is in,
I didn't know it was called
in what's
Wishbone.
called the wishbone.
I like
Oh,
that.
by the way, we didn't even touch on it. The sequence when they're coming up in the helicarrier
Yeah.
is incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because I thought that
I
was
mean, we've
just
just been jumping around, so.
yeah, I thought that was just a regular aircraft carrier, but the second.
Oh,
and
boy,
then-
you not read the comics? Come on, you should have known.
My boy, I was sitting there and I
Yeah?
saw that and I was like, "There's no way.
Yeah.
there's no way they brought a helicarrier.
I
into
knew
this.
it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was just like, as soon as Hulk was like, "Oh, submersible, blah blah blah,"
Is this a
and then
submarine?
Black Widow's like, "Think again," and I'm like,
and then it
"Oh,
and then
baby, Shield's here!"
Yeah,
Hell
the moment they reveal it in the fanfare.
Yes.
And then of
Score's
course-
so good, by the way.
And of course, Brandon's like, "Oh no, this is much worse."
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
That's so good. Really, Spear wants me in a pressurized submersible under the water. No. Oh no, this is much worse.
yeah. And you know, for a movie that has so many incredible like sequences, like just a helicarrier launching into the air is like really powerful in a weird way because it's something from the comics that's a mainstay
Yeah.
that you never think
Yeah.
you'd see.
I think that's actually an excellent example of the other thing that Whedon does well in this film is he knows how to make the moments have their proper feeling of gravitas on film. The
Yeah.
score helping it, the way he sets up the shots. So the
Silvestri
helicarrier
score.
rising out of the ocean is a big moment
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you haven't had that yet in the MCU. And even with everything we have going back and watching it this time, it still feels like a moment.
It does
Yeah.
feel like a moment, yeah.
Yeah.
It's such an exciting moment.
Plus,
every time I watch
it makes Steve give Fury the $10, which is a great play off that
Oh, yeah.
gag.
Yeah, that took me a couple watches
Same.
to realize that's what happened.
Yeah.
I still feel like most people, regular people watching that, don't even get that's a joke.
Yeah.
Like, because it took me again
It's-
like two or
it's-
three tries.
It's a smart script.
It's really
It
smart.
is.
The way that he plays in, like, he keeps jokes like that present throughout the film to keep the humor light, but it's never overbearing.
Yeah.
And things like the development of Coulson's cellist girlfriend in the background.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's another great part of it.
Yeah.
Giving Coulson just a little bit more development. If you're paying attention, you catch it.
Yeah, so speaking of Coulson, going into this film, and you know revisiting it after Captain Marvel, which I didn't do, but you know I just placed it in my mind. The sequence we talked about it in the Captain Marvel review, the sequence where Coulson dies, lands better having Captain Marvel in the canon. I feel,
Yeah.
Well,
I
yeah.
would say that.
and I think that's
Anything developing Coulson more.
Yes, especially pre this moment, and we're not going to touch on the TV shows. So as far as the movies go, Coulson does die in this
Yeah.
movie. He's been dead for since then.
Man,
Except
for,
he didn't.
for a lot of people, like it's not that they don't want to show. Like they might even not know the show even isn't around.
Mm-hmm.
So for a lot of people, like this is Coulson coming back after like 7 years,
Yeah.
and that's pretty exciting.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
Like I thought about that
Yeah.
when Cole showed. I was like, man, think about if this was just anyway. But like the sequence where he dies is, I understand why they chose him because he was the only he'd met 2 Avengers previously. You develop the idea that he's a huge fan of Captain America, so he idolizes Captain
You need
America.
something to avenge.
Designed a suit.
He designed a suit, which is awful.
I disagree with you, but go ahead.
You don't like his. Let's talk about you like his suit in this film.
I do.
Yeah, why?
Mostly, I think it's the bright colors.
Interesting.
It's
more
very
than anything.
comic book.
Yeah.
It's very comic booky,
Yeah.
and that's actually a great way to put it. The whole thing feels very comic booky,
Yeah.
and that's what I wanted this to be.
Sure.
That's what I wanted this one specifically to be. I don't need war hero Captain America.
Yeah,
I
we
want
got that from the
comic book
next movie.
superhero Captain
Right.
America.
Even first
all his designs in all the other films feel very war hero Captain America, not superhero comic book character
Sure.
Captain America.
I'm
And
sure
I
that's
like
what
the
they're
bright.
going for.
I like the bright colors. I think they stand out really well in this film, and I don't even mind I can agree that the design is a little much, but I think that it also needed to be a little much in this movie. The fact that Coulson designed it makes me like it more.
Yeah.
With the addition of it, and I'm gonna give it over to you in a second, Ben. But I wouldn't even say that it's necessarily my favorite over the later ones. If the later ones just kept some of that bright blue when he's doing things like in Age of Ultron, like he can have that design, but I wish that the blue wasn't such a dark navy. I wish it was a little brighter.
Sure. I was gonna say even in the first Avenger, his costume is pretty bright blue. Like
It's gray blue. It's I'll give him that. It's gray blue.
It's still brighter than Winter Soldier or even Age of Ultron.
Well, those are definitely darker.
Well, so
Yeah.
I agree with you. My problem with the suit isn't necessarily the colors. I think it's weirdly tight.
Yeah, it looks a little tight on him.
It looks very snug, and it looks like it's like smushing his head. Like the helmet looks like it's smushing his head. Where his cheeks are kind of budging out of the sides there.
Sure.
I just don't like how the suit fits on him.
Okay.
I don't think it works very well.
Something I really like about it in Avengers when you watch Steve move is I feel how fast he is.
Yeah.
In the later films, I feel like he's a little bulky. He doesn't move as fast. Part of that being in the costume design.
Sure.
So I agree with you. It's pretty tight. I don't need it to be that tight, but I also don't love how bulk it is in the later films. I wish that it still kind of had this idea of Steve kind of being a little more lean and fast and spry to jump around. Like the whole scene, a great example of that kind of speed is when he's fighting Loki and Loki has him pinned right at the helmet, and then he springs back up and
he's
kicks
like,
him right in the
"Not
face.
today."
Like I like a Captain America who can like move like that when he's running down the bus on the streets and moving ahead.
So,
I like
yeah.
that kind of speed
The
to
thing
him.
about Captain America is like people, like they assume like, oh, he's just like mega super strong. Like Captain America is supposed to be the peak human a person could be. So like he's not supposed to be the Hulk strong. He's supposed to be the maximum a human being is allowed to be. So yes, he is very strong. He's very fast, but he's not Superman.
No.
And I think Avengers does a good job of showcasing, and Civil War, but that's a way later movie of showcasing. Yo, man, he's a regular person, but like heightened like crazy.
Like you do see Captain America cut up.
Yeah.
You see him
Yeah,
bleeding.
sure.
You see
he's
him,
he's a person.
Yeah, I mean he's not invulnerable like Thor or like the Hulk. Hulk is like he's practically
Hulk gets shot, nothing happens to him.
Yeah, Hulk.
Yeah.
They shoot at Hulk and he's fine. Whereas Captain America, he did if he gets shot.
The fight sequence between Hulk and Thor. I think that's a good sequence.
Yeah.
Before that, like the stuff with Scarlet Witch, Jesus Christ, Black
Black
Widow.
Widow.
Like when Black Widow, and Banner fall through, and
Yeah.
Black Widow's stuck, and she's like, "I swear to you, I'll get you out of here." And Banner's like, "You swear on your life, you will?" And she's like, "Oh shit!"
Oh.
And then
Yeah.
it turns into the Hulk, and it turns into a horror movie for 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "This is great!
No.
Holy shit! Look
I
at
also like how she's like just kind of like there.
yeah."
Uh,
She looks
shell-shocked.
Shell
she's
shocked.
actually scared because
Yeah.
like she's never
But-
experienced the Hulk before.
But one of the things I was kind of like when later in the Battle of New York, when she's like, this all looks horrible. Is like, I've seen worse. I'm like, have you?
Have you?
Is this worse than him?
You know what? I'll say I bet you because she's an assassin murderer. I
Yeah.
bet she's seen worse murder stuff. She's never seen a giant green monster.
No.
So
true.
like she's definitely
No, like
got red in her ledger.
comparatively speaking
Yeah.
of Alien and the Leviathan and the Hulk. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll
I think
buy it.
I think it's supposed to be just a fun line.
I think so
Yeah.
too.
Well, my favorite fun line in this whole movie is that man is playing Galaga.
Yeah,
That you would notice.
Was that improv line?
It was
That was
completely,
an improv
completely
line.
improv. Downey and Whedon worked really well together, so there's a lot of improv from Downey in this film.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Black Widow's a much better character here than in Iron Man 2 as well.
Absolutely.
They decided
You mean she is a character?
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Like, I know we lose some stuff with Hawkeye, but they had to develop Black Widow too, and I'm glad we at least get that.
Yeah.
This ground level.
The interrogation sequence.
It was.
yeah.
Honestly, it was more needed for her than it was for him going into this
I agree.
movie.
Sure, I agree.
Because she was more prevalent and also the only female on the team.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the interrogation sequence is really cool.
Yeah.
With Loki and Black Widow.
Because like
Yeah,
real
I think
quick,
that's great.
The big thing with like going into this movie, a lot of people are like, "Why are Black Widow and Hawkeye here? You have a god, you have the smartest person on the planet, you have a super soldier. Why do you need to do but guns?"
They even talk about it as like, why do they need us?
Yeah.
Hey, that
And
old,
you know what? Black Widow, she's a spy. She knows how to use her words and her mind, and she tricks the god of mischief into telling her his plan.
Not
That's
only
brilliant.
that,
It's
she
brilliant.
sneaks up on him, and he
Yeah.
just says like, "Not many people can sneak up on
Yeah,
me."
every
Yeah.
person.
How'd you do that?
Every person has
Yeah.
their merits and their benefits.
Yeah.
it showcases her skill set
Yeah.
really nicely. Yeah. Not to let her get forgotten, but Maria Hill's introduced,
Yeah,
Yeah, she is.
and I wish there were more of her, but I really like her.
yeah.
this is the only film that I do like her in.
Yeah.
I think she's incredibly underutilized throughout the entire MCU.
I agree. We talked about it. We've talked about it before.
Yeah.
I think Maria Hill is the character who's been most underserved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that. I agree. Sorry, that sounded weird. I agree with you. I don't think that she's that I don't like her in the other films. I just think she isn't there enough.
Yeah.
Sure.
So like in Winter Soldier, I like her when she's there. She's just not in it enough for
Yeah.
me.
Right.
But I don't think she's doing a bad job or anything.
Yeah.
Speaking of Hill,
I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
that.
Speaking of Hill, I think Sam Jackson's really good in this one.
Sam Jackson's good in everything. Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
Watching Avengers and Winter Soldier, specifically Winter Soldier, after seeing Captain Marvel, it really made me. I'm talking about Captain Marvel a little bit. It really made me retroactively appreciate how much Sam Jackson did to make himself feel like a younger version of himself.
Yeah.
Because there is a separation.
He does
of
feel
youth.
20 years younger
He
in that movie.
feels younger in that film for
Right.
sure. So kudos to him
Yeah.
on building this character so well.
I think Fury is really good in this film. He uses an RPG to stop one of his own planes.
Oh, yeah.
The Battle of New York. So let's talk about the Battle of New York.
Before we get there, real quick, I just wanted to say that one of my favorite sequences is when Loki's in Germany and takes that dude's eye.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's an
yeah.
excellent sequence that leads into one of my favorite fight moments between him and Cap, and also the old guy who stands up
Oh,
and
yeah.
says there are always men like you, which is one of my favorite
Yeah.
moments in the film.
No, there are no
Don't
men
want to
like
forget
me.
that moment because that moment's bomb.
Yeah.
Every time I see that scene in the film, I'm like, hell yeah,
Yeah, that's a moment
this
that's
is the stuff I come for.
That's a moment it's an interesting moment. I like it, and yet there's a part of me that's kind of like, this is a little much, but it's still a good moment. It still lands pretty
For
well.
me, again, like, because this is the Avengers and the first Avengers and the first ensemble film of all these big comic book characters coming together. I feel like Coulson says it really well. Of like, we need a little. We need a little much.
We need a little old fashioned.
Yeah, we need a little old fashioned. We need a little much
Yeah.
to make this movie work. I think those things absent out of this movie would cost it some of its charm.
Sure.
And why people got sold on the MCU.
Yeah.
I think this film was able to. This film uses those moments, those old fashioned moments, to get the audience on board, and then the rest of the MCU was able to tone it down.
Yes.
Because now the audience is here.
I was going to say, I think what the Avengers does so well, just overall what we're talking about, I think it showcases everything the MCU could be to sell you on the future of where
Right.
the MCU can go.
Right.
And it says it can be all of these things. We want to show you all the different places that this can be, all the different things it can represent. Here you go.
Right.
Yeah.
So the Battle of New York,
Yeah.
really impressive. I think the single take is awesome.
There are probably like cooler moments in other movies, but like I don't think anything will top for seeing that in the theater of like seeing the double page spread moment of all the Avengers.
I don't think anything's going to top the moment when the camera circles around them. Dun 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 dun.
That
dun.
moment will be cinematic history just as much as like the first time Jaws popped out.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
In the film that we always see that shot when he's throwing the chum,
Yes.
that kind of iconic shot. It will always be that.
Yeah, it's
The T-Rex breaking through the fence. It's
Right.
that for Avengers. That will always be looked back to when you see like big cinematic reels of film history.
Probably my favorite moment from like the battle, Banner rolls up on a scooter, and like,
Oh, who's the? It's Harry Dean Stanton.
Yes,
Has a
Harry Dean
small
Stanton
cameo.
has
you have a
cameo.
condition.
Son, you've
yeah.
got a condition.
Freaking, there's a giant Leviathan snake monster coming from the sky,
Uh-huh.
and then like, well, that's not a party. And then Bruce is like, I'm just always angry, and he turns into the Hulk immediately, and like,
Punches it in the face.
the theater goes crazy.
Yeah, that was an excellent scene.
Yeah,
Seeing
man.
that in my I think everyone, if I remember correctly, everyone cheered.
Oh hell yeah, dude!
When
Absolutely.
do you remember, Brandon? When
Yes, everyone.
Yeah.
The theater we saw was cheer fest.
Yeah.
Man, there is nothing like seeing an Avengers movie at midnight with a bunch of fans
Yeah.
because
yeah, with people.
boy howdy are people into it.
Holy shit! Like the second Hulk, he turns into Hulk, says, "That's my secret, Cap." I'm always angry. Turns into the Hulk, punches the Leviathan in the face, and then finally all the rest of the Leviathans come down, and everyone's like gets their their orders. And when he turns to Hulk, says, "Hulk, smash!" And he's like,
Smiles.
"Yeah."
Man, a lot of those people are still in those buildings when the Leviathans are coming down. One Hulk goes rampages through an office building. Those people didn't expect to see this today.
No, they did not.
Not at all.
I always like the bit that there's still people in those buildings.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that too.
But one of the things
Look at them Avengers save people.
Well, so I wanted to get to that because
Yeah.
one of my favorite things about this, and to this day, is that there's an emphasis on actually saving people, containing the fight to a couple of blocks. Because you see Cap tell like, I need a perimeter here, here, and here, and get those people out. Blah blah. Like you have people saying you have all these people trying to. And there's scenes of Hawkeye just pulling people out of a bus. You know,
what
we're
year
trying to get
did Man of Steel come out?
2013, a year later.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
you had it right there, you guys.
So this film, tries to actually put an emphasis on we're
And
trying
being
to save
superheroes.
people.
Yeah.
That's what they do. They save people. They
Yeah.
don't just punch bad guys. They save people.
And this is why the Battle of New York isn't just the entire city isn't leveled. It's
Little
just a
Cap
couple of
gives
blocks.
orders like, save
Yeah.
these people. Cops, do this
Yeah.
thing.
It's
Yeah.
just a couple of blocks.
And I love seeing Captain America strategizing it,
yes.
Like,
making the plan with the Avengers and making the plan with the police.
Yeah, and one of the favorite parts of the movie is that actually at the end when they're look at the newsreels of all the people like saying "Yay Avengers," where you go to Ashley Johnson, who was the waitress, and she had a little more prevalent part in the lead scene earlier, but she said,
Boy, people were real upset about that character when the movie came out.
"Yeah," but she was like, "We're supposed to fear them? No, Captain America saved my life," and that is just amazing. And I'm like, yeah, they were saying like he goes into that building with a bunch of the Chitauri and they're about to set a bomb and he gets them out. He gets rid of the Chitauri, but you can tell it's like, oh boy, okay, we gotta keep going.
People recognize a hero when they see it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he's dressed as a superhero in this film.
yeah.
Damn right.
Again, to your point, like this is like the comic book movies of comic book movies. So like having him look a little silly, like maybe a little old fashioned is kind of what we need.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah,
there's so much in the Battle of New York that's so good. One of my favorite little tidbits is the statue on top of Grand Central was destroyed, and I'll get to another bit that I just remembered. And by the time we get to Age of Ultron, it's been replaced with another memorial that's continued on whenever we see Grand Central in the MCU. It's a new memorial about the Battle of New York.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So that's I think that's really
What
cool.
is it of?
It's of,
the real one is like World War II or something.
Well, I
like that.
meant
Yeah.
like the Marvel. one.
it's firemen and police, right?
Yeah.
who are working during the Battle of New York. How they saved.
Oh,
the
it's not
lives and everything.
superhero
Yeah.
related?
It's not
It's
superhero
not the
related.
Avengers.
That's even better.
Yeah.
No,
That's
it's
awesome.
it's the real heroes who were real world human
yeah.
kind of heroes.
Cops and
First
Yes,
responders.
who were working under Captain America's orders, protecting the streets. It's a statue commemorating them, implying it. I'd imagine that a few lost their lives doing
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So the Stark Tower keeps losing letters.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a good gag.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
I don't know if gag's the right word for it, but it's a good motif.
I would say it's a good little
motif.
or kind of like a wink in a way. It's like, you know what this is gonna become.
Yeah.
Well, no, I didn't think about it. Like,
While it's happening, you're not really thinking about
No.
it. Then you're left with the A, and then you're like,
Oh.
It's
Got a
like
big
when
A.
when the movie's going on, you just see letters fall and you don't realize what's happening, and it's not until that last
Tony
shot where you
Stark.
see the A, and it's like, oh, that's gonna become Avengers Tower.
I think I caught on to it, and I don't remember if this is true, but I think I caught on to it right when the second to last fell, and I was like, oh, it's just an A. Oh,
I want to touch on Tony Stark's sacrificial moment. when he gets
Oh, when
he's
he
in the
gets
Mark he's in the Mark 7 in this film?
I want to touch on that real quick that the World Security Council was going to blow up New York.
Yeah.
You mean Hydra?
I mean Hydra.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know where I'm at
Yeah.
because the guy who's the one
Powers
in the World
Booth,
Security
baby.
Council who's pushing that decision, we
Powers
know from
Booth.
the show. I know you don't want to talk about it. Is Hydra, which is why he's not in the Winter
You know what,
Soldier
man?
on
And
that position of
Good
the
on
World
that
Security Council
show
anymore.
to get Powers Booth from the movie.
Yeah.
That's
As the
one
same-
thing that
as
works.
the same character too.
Yeah.
works.
Because he was Hydra, and I'm like, you know what? Retroactively,
Yeah,
I know
you
you don't want to
take
acknowledge
out all
the
the
show, but
heroes.
retroactively, that decision makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, Sparks. When we saw the movie together, you were telling me, like, yeah, this guy's Hydra. I'm like, oh man, this does make sense. Because I did it. Because you're right. When we saw Winter Soldier, he's not in it. I'm like, ooh, he must have got because you don't see
he
him.
left because he was doing other Hydra stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hydra traitor.
So Shield is going to nuke New York. Nuke New York. And
Unique
New
New
York. Theater
and
people.
Iron Man goes to grab the nuke and
Sure.
shove it up where the sun don't shine.
Should I call Miss Potts?
No, there
And-
was a son there.
Yeah, whatever. So I really like this. I really like this moment. It goes back to what we saw in the Avengers Endgame trailer. Whatever it takes. So Iron Man and Cap. What I just want to focus on Iron Man right here is he's always made the play of like, I'm not coming back from this, and I'm okay with that. This is what I need to do, and he does the moment in Iron Man and in this where he goes up, and he's sure, he's like 100% sure.
His eyes closed. Like
I'm not
he's
coming
ready
back.
to die.
I'm not coming back from
He's
this.
in that portal.
It's
Yep.
a miracle.
He tries to
that-
call Pepper.
Yeah.
Yep, doesn't work.
And I think that's a really good moment. It's
Yeah.
heartbreaking every single time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
He lets it go. He falls back. He falls back, and then
they all Phantom Menaced.
And this
Yeah.
is how in also kind of in response to Cap calling him out earlier, like, I've watched the footage of you. You know, you don't fight for anyone but yourself. You're not the kind of guy who will hold
make
the
the
wire and let the other
sacrificial
guy.
play.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
and he's like, I'll just cut the
I'll
wire.
just cut
Sure.
the wire.
Always a way out.
Which I think does make sense because Iron Man 2, if that's the footage he's watching, he definitely is not working that same way.
Yeah. And then he's saved by Hulk because Thor has taken too long to swirl his hammer.
Yeah.
And the famous shawarma bit.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Well, Tony's asleep on the floor and he's not waking up, so the Hulk has to scream in his face. And Tony's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, let's go."
No one,
win?
no one
Yeah.
kissed me, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is the
go
first.
team.
This is also the first Thor wig
Yes.
that we'll get from.
Selvig's great in this.
Oh,
He's good in this.
Sorry, I
Well,
just
one of my favorite scenes in this movie. This is also it was also used for a TV promotional thing. Was the conversation between Loki and Tony in Stark Tower?
Oh, yeah.
And he's like,
Oh,
what is
sure.
it? Oh no, threatening. You want a drink? And he says, "The Avengers, Earth's mightiest heroes.
Yeah.
That's what we call ourselves." And he like does the roll call,
Uh-huh.
and finally we get the "I have an army. We have a Hulk."
Yeah.
Or no, actually, no. You know what? Yeah, that's funny. But one of the best bits about that is when he's thrown out the building. It's, there's one more person you pissed off,
And
his name was Phil. Mm-hmm.
and that is
And then-
such a good moment.
And then, of course, when the Hulk says, "Enough! I am a god, you dull creature!" Whack, 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 whack.
Yes.
Plays
Oh.
whack-a-mole with Loki.
always fun.
You
always
brought
fun.
it up.
Always great.
The framing when Loki is like on the ground and then all the Avengers are in frame with Hawkeye in the middle.
Yes.
Like with the arrow.
Yeah.
The framing of all that is like a comic book panel.
It
It's
is
beautiful.
Like it is like
Yeah.
a comic book panel, and I love that Hawkeye was put in the middle of it and nobody else because Hawkeye was the one with the most at that moment personal
Oh, yeah.
vengeance thing against
Arrow
Loki.
pointed right at his face.
Dude mess with his mind.
Speaking about Selvig's stuff, I wanted to touch on that. His whole thing where he explains like it's shown me more things than it's shown
It's
me truth.
pure
Yeah,
knowledge.
it's truth.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
More than knowledge, it's truth, and I really enjoyed that kind of expansion on everything.
I
And,
really enjoyed, like, we'll talk about him more, but, like, Selvig throughout all of these movies is super fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And also, I wanted to ask if you guys even remember when you were watching the movie, and this is I don't even know if I remember, but when we were watching the movie, Loki has a scene where he communicates with the other there.
Yes.
And he's told by the other that he will come after
I
you.
knew it was
He will
Thanos
punish you.
immediately.
Did you?
Yeah, because I'm the only person in that theater who read a comic and knew who Thanos was.
Sure.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no clue.
I don't remember. I think I was thinking in the direction of Thanos, but I hadn't like committed my mind to it. I'm like, who could this be?
So at the time, I was still young in comics. I read Ultimates. Thanos was never in the Ultimates universe at that point.
Right.
I have read Infinity War a dozen times by this point.
Sure.
I was
Infinity Gauntlet.
Sorry, Infinity
Yeah.
Gauntlet.
I was I had a pull list at the comic book store at the time, but it was all DC.
Sure.
I had no idea who Thanos was
Right.
until the movie came out.
Yeah.
And I'm not ashamed to admit that. Like, you know.
No, yeah.
Oh no, I'm in that same boat because when I was really buying comics, when I first started buying comics, it was really Sonic books, and then the New 52 came out for DC. I was buying those, and it wasn't until
I bought all those books.
I know you did. And then when Avengers finally came out, I had turned over to Brandon. I was like, "Who's that? I know he's big, but who's that?"
At the
and then
time,
Brandon
at the
returns to-
time the movie had come out, I had heard that he was in the movie, and I looked him up. So I knew, I knew I knew the name, but I didn't know anything about the character.
and then he's like, "That's Thanos." I'm like, "Who's Thanos?" I don't
So
know.
like before Avengers came out, you know, it was my joke was like, this movie's not coming out. I've seen a trailer, but it's not coming out.
Uh-huh.
You see the end credit sequence, and I'm like, oh well, that's definitely not happening because Thanos is on a level so much bigger than everything. Like, there's no way they can do this anytime soon, and they were smart, and they didn't.
I want to,
And they
so
did it.
I really want to. So I want to move on to the next movie, but I do want to say something about Thanos that goes into our Avengers Infinity War review. In this film,
Did you mean Infinity War or did you mean Endgame?
I mean Infinity War.
Okay.
In this film, the other says to Thanos, to challenge them is to court death.
Yeah.
And Thanos turns around and smiles. It was clear at that moment when they introduced Thanos that they were going to introduce a more comic book accurate Thanos of someone who's trying to kill the entire
Sure.
universe to support with the love interest and death.
Yeah.
And that version of Thanos is going to carry over into the next films until we see him in Infinity War.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I want to like plant that. So we're now in in our journey we have met Thanos, but a different Thanos than we encountered.
And
in
specifically,
Infinity War.
like to cheat death, like that is people who know Thanos'
court death.
Like people who know Thanos' story, like that's it. Like he's trying to bang death. That's
Yeah.
his whole thing.
And like the wordplay is incredibly specific to court
Yeah.
death.
And it, you know, it's a part of me still is kind of bummed out that's not the route they took. But like again, it's
We don't know how Endgame ends.
we don't know how Endgame ends. But it's also like
We know nothing. We are Jon Snow.
I just don't see them pivoting from
I agree.
the plan already.
I
But
agree.
like.
But we don't want to.
Yeah, but like, man, like the idea, like, yeah, we're gonna see the interpretation of death, and Thanos is gonna kill half the universe to win her over. And I'm like, we're never gonna see this. It's no way. And now we're here.
Yeah.
Like, really, like for a comic fan, it's impossible to believe.
Final thoughts on Avengers. We'll move on.
Yeah, I really always enjoy this film. A couple of moments that I wanted to mention were, I remember one of my favorite moments, one that got like a big from an like sigh of relief from audiences when they saw it, is the part where Hulk catches the pilot that ejects out of the jet.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, "Oh man, he's dead!"
gonna
And
throw
then he
him?
throws him, and then he just. And he's got his little parachute, and he just goes. That's a great moment
Target
of like
angry.
Target angry.
it's such a great moment of fast suspense and tension to immediate, like, kind of comedic relief.
Yeah.
Um,
The subtitles, by the way, on the Avengers when the plane blows up and he goes flying is Hulk size.
Oh, really?
And I was like, because you know the. Like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
apparently him sighing.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
yeah. That and just remembering the first confrontation between Iron Man and Thor, because we didn't really touch on it.
Yeah.
That's such a great moment.
Doth
with
mother
Cap
know
coming in.
you weareth her drapes?
Yeah.
I remember, we were seeing it in trailers and then seeing it in films. That was probably the moment. That Woods fight was probably the first moment where I'm like,
Oh shit.
I can't believe I'm seeing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I'm watching a star explode. What's happening?
It's like that scene where like you see Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America, like the big three, and you're just like, oh shit, there they
real.
are,
Right.
on the same screen.
Wait, I've seen
together.
these movies.
And Stan Lee's cameo, of course, was at the end with
Yeah.
Heroes in New York. That's ridiculous.
Always fun. Shall we go into Iron Man 3 then?
Did we rate the movies
Well,
last time?
I don't remember what we did last time.
I think we rated them. I don't remember.
I don't think we.
Shit.
I don't think we
remember.
rated them.
I don't
Okay,
think we
all
did.
right.
No, I think he's right. I think we might
Or
have.
did we? I don't remember.
We should start. Let's do it.
I just have a feeling we rated them.
I think
I don't
I
think
think
we
Ryan
did.
might be
I
right.
think it's unfair to rate them retrospectively.
Yeah.
I'm doing it. I don't care. Let's do
I
it.
could have swore we did.
Let's do
Brandon.
it.
I think so.
Okay, fine.
Stop resisting.
Hold on. We got. Let's take a vote. We got 2. Yes. Ben.
If we do it, okay. But
could've swore we
I
did
don't-
it, you
I
guys.
honestly remember we didn't
Man, we're
do
so
that.
good at our own continuity.
God. This is the ultimate universe. We don't
Okay,
have to. I
fine.
really thought we did.
Okay.
It's up to you. I'm fine with
I
it.
don't think
We don't
it's
have
fair.
to. We
All
don't
right,
have to.
we're not
Okay,
rating
we
it.
won't.
Ryan, we could secretly rate it in our minds. Ready, go.
Got it.
All right, cool.
Silence. Great for a podcast.
Avengers is a 10.
All right, so let's move on to Iron Man 3 then. Iron Man 3 came out a year later.
Divisive movie.
Very divisive film. Now, again, as always, shoot yourselves back to 2013. 2013 now. Avengers had come out a year before. We're now Iron Man 3. It's the first film after the Avengers. What are you guys thinking?
Shane
Black?
Hell yeah.
What are you guys thinking? Sparks, you first.
I remember, like, I enjoyed the film. I was definitely mildly disappointed. I wanted the Ben Kingsley Mandarin that I'd been promised in the trailers. I didn't hate the movie, and I wasn't against the movie, and I've definitely changed my mind from initial reaction. But I know I walked out of that movie like not taking in the whole thing because I was a little disappointed with the way that shook out.
Ryan?
I'm the Iron Man guy. And after Iron Man 2, I was like, that's a bummer. Hearing Shane Black was coming on for this was very reminiscent of Joss Whedon getting Avengers. Like, hey, they're seeking out really great creative people. And I love Shane Black. Long Kiss Goodnight, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Lethal Weapon. Like, that dude makes incredible... He was in Predator, and he wrote Predator. He does really great movies. I love Iron Man 3. And I know I'm in the minority on this one because a lot of people, that's fine. You're allowed to not like what they do with the Mandarin. I think it's a great twist. I love it. I think the writing is excellent. I think it's the best portrayal of Tony Stark as a character, like dealing with what he goes through, especially with after the New York stuff.
I agree with that.
I think this movie is so fun. So fun.
Ben?
Going back to 2013, I remember, like, yes, Iron Man 3, here it is, but again, I don't know.
You were disappointed it wasn't the Avengers, and you were just waiting for Avengers Age of Ultron. Oh my God, am I right?
No.
Because this is the
It's
shit you
allowed.
put in the last movie.
No,
The last
because
special.
we didn't find out about Avengers Age of Ultron until Comic-Con that year.
Even true.
But we all knew
We
Avengers
knew
was coming.
Avengers
We knew there was going to be
No
another,
more Avengers movies.
We knew, obviously, we knew that there was another Avengers film coming out, and I'm trying to think, but I remember not hating.
I had that with Thor. Sorry, go on.
No, I remember not hating Iron Man 3. I remember getting out of Iron Man 3. I was like, no, that was great. I had a fun time. So Iron Man 3 definitely is a good movie. It's very enjoyable, and also I do like how it deals with what Tony went through in the Battle of New York. How he went through all this crazy shit. Aliens were coming down. He was starting to have anxiety, PTSD. I was like, this is actually because not a lot of superhero movies kind of like they just save the world. It looks like they're 9 to 5, but especially these world-ending events like the Battle of New York could have been a world-ending event. It's like that takes a toll on someone.
Yeah, I was very excited for just another Marvel movie. Like, Avengers was done, and I'm just like, oh my God, I need another one. And I really like the Iron Man films. I hadn't really solidified my opinion on Iron Man 2 at this point. And I like Shane Black, and I was just kind of like, okay.
You mean Iron Man 3 or Iron Man 2?
Oh, I mean Iron Man 2. Like,
Okay,
but going into Iron Man 3, that's what I'm talking about. Going into Iron Man 2, like, I liked Iron Man 2 for the most part. Avengers, and so going into another Marvel film and just like, oh my God, here we go. What's the next step? What we're seeing? And I still thought we're getting Thanos in the next Avengers movie. But at any rate,
I did too. But in hindsight, I'm really glad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
I think it's a fun movie. I've got a very strange kinship with this film because of its portrayal of PTSD. I think it's actually really solid. Contrast that to his very strange portrayal of autism in
Predator?
The Predator.
Yeah.
I think his portrayal of PTSD is really solid.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think this film has a lot of good buddy cop moments with Rhodey
It's
and
basically
Tony.
like half a Lethal Weapon movie.
I think the two of them are really good together.
Yeah.
Like the whole
I wish there were more of it.
Like
Yeah.
the whole I Am Patriot review was really good.
Yeah, President Ellis. It was a Warren Ellis from the
We
comics.
finally got a president,
We finally got a president.
and he stays consistent.
Yeah.
Up to this point, anyway.
Yeah, I really like this movie. And one of the things I do want to touch on is this is the first film that's a reaction to Phase 1. We talked about it a bit in our first part.
I feel like this is the first movie that gave a creator his like full freedom,
Well,
like
so-
like a Guardians or.
So you know by watching Iron Man 2 that they thought that they were leaving Justin Hammer on the table for a third Iron Man film. They were leaving the stuff open for a third Iron Man film should Jon Favreau come back. But because Iron Man 2 received very poor reviews, they felt, again, Ike Perlmutter felt a different direction. So you get Shane Black and you overhaul the entire thing. This was not the direction. This is what a lot of third films in a trilogy do. If the second one is poorly received, you go back to basics, and that's what this film did. It goes back to
it goes
basics.
so much back to basics. Like it's like Iron Man's barely in the movie.
Yeah, and I actually
I'm a Tony Stark guy. Like I'm
Yeah.
totally cool.
Well,
with
also one of the aspects I really enjoyed was how the movie opens up. Like
with 1999.
Yeah, well, it opens up in 1999, but also opens with Tony narrating to this unknown person about.
You see
this-
Jensen again.
Hell yeah.
Love
Yeah.
Jensen.
Yeah, you see Jensen. You say, and
You
it's-
see the Chinese doctor that's only there for the Chinese audience.
Yeah.
That was real
Shows
weird.
up later.
You know about this, right? But there's another cut of the.
There's
of
an
Iron Man
entire
3.
Chinese edited version that has a bunch more footage of Chinese stuff.
I did not know this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a second Iron Man 3 that was only available in China.
A lot of big
Okay.
blockbusters are getting funding through China, and there's
Uh-huh.
like alternate versions that are featuring Chinese actors.
This was
in a
the,
lot of movies.
This was the last movie to have Paramount's logo on it.
Yeah, it was.
And the second by Disney.
Yeah, but as I was saying, is like it's one of those things where Tony's talking to someone you don't know who he's talking to, of course, until the very end, the post-credits scene of
Sure.
the movie. But it shows him being cocky and like, you know who I am. He sleeps with his botanist friend at the time, and then he promises Eldritch Killian is up on the roof, up in a
Guy Pearce in a pretty good role, I think.
Yeah, he's real good.
He's like, yeah, I'll talk to you on the roof. I think it's a great idea. Blows him off completely, and then just continues his life. And then we cut to him in
Christmas Day. No, Christmas Eve.
No,
Christmas something.
Christmas time.
Christmas.
And then we get to the cut of him and Rhodey just chilling at Malibu's net in Malibu.
Yeah.
Or
Well-
Neptune's net in Malibu.
I think the sequence when they're when he's suiting up is really cool. Again, I have a strange fascination with his robot dummy.
Dummy's cute, man.
Dummy
Jarvis, drop my needle.
is his favorite creation because he's kept him since MIT. Dummy. This film is really rough for me, by the way, also because of Dummy.
Oh, rip.
And
Pulls him out
Yeah.
at the end of the movie. Pulls him out.
I want to touch on. I want to get to that in a moment.
Dummy is definitely an Endgame.
Holy shit! I'd flip.
Oh, yeah.
So, I really like the
Put
the,
flowers on the grave.
the suiting up sequence of Tony Stark with the new the kind of extremist light.
It's
Yeah.
the
I would
light,
say
light extremist. Yeah.
That they do. This is the film that's more heavily inspired by the extremist storyline, but all three Iron Man films are inspired by the extremist storyline.
So the Iron Man book that I was going to pick for my book club instead of Sex Criminals, a Matt Fraction book, was going to be Volume 1, which is the Five Nightmares, which incorporates people using the Iron Man tech to turn themselves into suicide bombers. And that's not part of Extremis, but that's something they incorporated into this movie. So it's incorporating Extremis and Matt Fraction's Iron Man run for pretty positive, good results, I think. I think it's a good combo.
I think the mystery of what's happening is pretty
Yes.
solid.
It is a good mystery.
I
Yeah.
think
Oh,
it's
yeah,
a good mystery.
I
like
actually
the-
like it. I like when you see
I like the bald guy. What's his name?
Who?
The bald guy.
Oh, I couldn't tell you his name.
I like him.
James
I've got
Dale Badge.
James Badge Dale.
Yeah.
I like him a lot.
Yeah.
Dale Badge.
Yeah, like when he's trying to find like when Happy sees him, he's like, "Hey, where's your badge?"
With the Chinese.
Yeah, the stuff
theater.
with Happy is super funny. Like
I like
the
Little
stuff-
did he know he was Badge.
Yeah.
Badge Dale.
Jesus, Louise.
Yeah, but the whole thing at the the whole
Nobody
thing at
is safe.
the whole thing at the Chinese theater, and then when Tony is one of the things I do like about the Iron Man films is that you can see Tony's technology progressively get better.
Yeah.
I also one of the things I like about the Iron Man films is you can see his relationships progressively get better.
Yeah.
His relationship with Happy when he's furious at what happened to Happy. He's like,
Uh-huh.
you've attacked my best friend.
Oh, yeah.
I'm coming after you.
Like Pepper's
Detective Banner on the case.
like him and Pepper, they moved in. She's not working at the house.
The giant bunny.
Yeah, giant.
Oh.
And
It's a big bunny. Relax about it.
And then Tony's like trying to mess with her with the Mark 42.
The Mark 47.
Oh, Mark 47, yeah.
There's a lot of marks.
And she's like, "Oh, what is that? Mark 10?" And he's like,
yeah, sure,
He
sure.
like hides it.
When Maya, the botanist lady, comes to his house
Uh-huh.
to try to help him, not really or
Please
whatever.
tell me there's not a 12-year-old at the center car.
Pepper's
He's
like,
13.
I was like, oh, one of your old girlfriends. She's like, no, we just had one night together, huh? And she's like, wow, there was a lot of those, weren't there, Tony?
Well, I want to get to. I'll bounce off of that. What I like about it is like he pretends not to remember her, and then he's like, "Who is that?" Oh, it's Maya. It's
Myra
Rudolph.
Hansen.
It's Myra Hansen.
Yeah.
And it's like botanist, blah blah blah. And she's like shocked, like, "Oh, you do remember
Yeah.
me." One of the things we kind of gloss over, but when he's like messing with her with Mark 47, goes downstairs and he's working out. The moment that he has with Pepper, and also the moment that he has with Rhodey when he has an anxiety attack at the bar.
I was going to bring both of these up. So.
The moment he has with Rhodey when he's like, honey, I can't sleep. You go to bed. I come down here. I do what I know. I tinker. I build things. Like,
I'm just a man in a can.
Yeah.
I like that moment so much when he
It
just
is.
like lays everything out to Pepper's like, this is what I'm going through. I don't know how to deal with it.
I do too. And bouncing off that, I like that scene so much that later although I can understand the circumstances, it still doesn't sit right with me. I don't love that Pepper just leaves when he wakes up from the nightmare.
Yes, me too. I conversely, I really dislike that Pepper.
I understand being upset. You don't just like, I'm sleeping in another room. Goodbye. When you saw he was having, and he told
He
him.
was literally in another like dimension
Yeah,
throwing
yeah,
a
he was
nuke. Give him a break.
Yeah, he was having an anxiety attack.
It's her.
He didn't realize he summoned the Mark 47.
It's her
to come
being.
up.
It's her being very. It's her being very. What's the word I'm looking for? Supportive.
Yeah.
It's her being very supportive, and then her not being supportive of what he's going through. And
in a day,
and I don't
Yeah.
like that turnaround.
Yeah, I agree with that.
it's one of my least favorite moments of the film is her deciding to walk out. I understand how horrifying it is when the armor grabs her like that.
Yeah.
I get being upset and everything, but her just leaving the room because they needed to end the scene, I don't love that.
Yeah.
That should be a conversation moment. It hurts the Tony Pepper relationship for me a little bit.
Or a coddling moment, like she just like what comes up behind him is like, it's okay.
You know, and I agree with you. And if they would have set up like this slow negativity building between them after New York, not even like because of their own like emotional stuff, but like the stuff Tony's dealing with. If they would have showed she's dealing with this her own way, and like built on that more, then I would have believed her walking out. But she just does it like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Like why aren't you being supportive? Like
right? Yeah, it's a little too harsh of a
There's on the
reaction
build-up
for
for
someone
that.
who just confided in you that like that day
Yeah.
that they've been dealing with trauma for a year.
Yeah.
Or not a year, so a few months. 6 months.
Close to a year, I think.
No, because it's Christmas.
Oh,
6
6
months.
months.
Christmas is the
6
same year,
months,
so
yeah.
about 6 months.
And he also, the line in the trailer and also the line in the movie, nothing's ever been the same since New York.
Sure.
What was the scene in the bar with Rhodey when he has the anxiety attack?
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that too. The way they did that, it's like, how did you get out of the wormhole?
Yeah.
It's like,
that's
geez,
spooky.
yeah.
Thanks, little
When,
kid.
when he runs into the suit and he's not sure what happened, he's like, "What happened? Am I poisoned? What's going on?" He's like,
Yeah.
"You had anxiety." I what?
yeah. All your vitals are fine, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's really good.
and later when he sees the kid in Tennessee, he's also like, "Why? Why are you here? I'm in a flight plan." But he's talking to the kid, and he's like, "Oh, did I mention New York? Do you need paper?" I was like, "No, stop saying it."
I wasn't having a panic attack until you mentioned the thing that gives me panic attacks.
because he's like trying to follow the crumbs, and he's trying to follow the leads on these people who these quote unquote bombers, and he's like, and one of my favorite action scenes is the scene at the bar in Tennessee where he goes to see the mom, and she's like,
Sure.
"Hide your files." Like, I'm not the person you.
Oh
you're
yeah,
supposed
like
to
the
talk
last people or whatever.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then what's her name shows up, and there's that decent fight
Crazy
scene.
redhead.
Yeah, the crazy redhead.
Yeah.
What's Man Thing's wife?
Abby Cable.
Yeah, that's
Swamp
her.
Thing's wife.
Man Thing's wife. That's her.
Man Thing.
Yeah.
From Marvel Comics.
Yes.
What? The crazy redhead monster lady? The
No, in the bar in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Man Thing's wife.
is that old lady?
No,
with
is
the file?
the FBI is the
The
extremist
crazy
girl.
redhead.
Oh really?
The extreme. I'm not talking about the crazy redhead. Sorry, I realized.
Yeah.
The extremist girl, who's pretending to be the FBI agent to meet the mother of the dude. That's Man Thing's wife.
That doesn't make
Okay,
any
no,
sense.
I'm confused. Are you talking about the mom, or are you talking about the crazy redhead?
The redhead.
He's talking about the redhead.
Who's the red? She's red.
Yeah, she has a
her hair-
redhead.
she has a
Her
redhead.
hair is
She's
scarred
red
her
hair.
face.
Colorblind. It looks brown to me.
Oh my god.
That's definitely she's definitely a redhead.
Anyway,
that doesn't make any sense.
no.
Hold on.
Man Thing is a crazy.
I wanted
Go-
to say,
go what you were
I
gonna
wanted
say.
to say that I think Happy's a better character in this film than he was in the previous two Iron Man films.
Uh-huh.
And this isn't me knocking on Jon Favreau for that. I actually think that probably what it is that he pulled back on how
He
much
didn't want to put himself
he
in the
used
movie.
Happy because it's him.
Yeah.
But him being under a different director and different writer, I think allows him to be a better character. And I think that he is better in the films going
Yeah.
forward
Yeah.
now.
He's someone-
and I appreciate that. I appreciate that we get a better Happy character because of that.
I think the characterizations
I
of everyone in this movie is like top notch.
I like
Yes.
how Happy isn't no longer Tony's chauffeur. He actually has a legit job,
Yeah,
like
security man.
Yeah, he's security. So like he's walking around like someone who obviously has never had that seat of power
Sure.
before. So he's just trying to. He's just obviously stepping over his boundaries, but he's doing
yeah.
it in a way that's not hurting anyone. I kind of like it because he's like, I never had this much responsibility and power before. Now,
But look what happens. He goes and he investigates on his own.
And him,
and
him going after Savin is a great moment where he chases him down and sees him at the Chinese theater.
Yeah.
Yes, that is his name. It's Savin.
Savin. There you go.
Yeah, but still bad things happen. But I like the characterization of Happy in this movie. And also I love how Tony, even though he's trying to get his suit powered up and he goes to And he goes to Florida with all those, with like his own homemade weapons and everything. I was like, no, I like that because we always forget that as much as Tony is a genius because he builds all these armors, he also knows his shit.
Yeah.
So he can walk into a Home Depot or a Lowe's and he's like, okay, I can do some crazy
You know how many tinkers? He can
shit
do anything with
this.
everything.
Yeah.
Okay, Ryan.
Yeah, what's up?
Here we go.
Okay.
Ellen Brandt is the
Yeah.
character name that.
Yeah.
That's Man Thing's wife.
Now,
You know,
Isn't that real weird?
now
As
here's-
someone who like is cool with like connecting things, this doesn't make any sense.
Okay,
Isn't
now,
that weird?
Doesn't
All right,
make any
Brandon.
sense.
Now here's my question: is Alan Brandt the crazy redhead who's also extremist, or the old mom?
She's the crazy
She's
redhead,
this-
Ben. We said that.
We always said it. She's a crazy redhead.
We
Okay.
established that with you.
Thank you.
It still
Okay.
doesn't
All right.
really add anything or make any sense.
No, but it's real weird.
Considering
isn't it?
Man Thing is in Thor Ragnarok on the thing.
What?
Yeah, he's one of the four heads of the gladiatorial.
That's a man thing.
Maybe that's
Oh,
how she lost the. Maybe that's how she lost the arm.
Wow, we need a one shot.
No, she lost. She lost her arm because she was a Marine.
Did
we
she?
don't know.
Did she?
You can.
Anyway.
never mind.
So I was
It's
going to
weird,
say
though.
that
It's weird.
something that I remember kind of being a first impression is at a certain point in the movie I was nervous it was going to get cluttered. The first time seeing it because it has what felt like the extra story with Killian and then also the Mandarin and
But they're the same thing.
but you didn't know that
Yep.
at a certain point in the film you feel like wow, this seems like this is stuffed.
Yeah.
Not that I wasn't having a good time, but I was nervous about it. But then I
I'll tell you
like
what,
that they
I-
do interweave
before
into being
they
one
were
thing.
before the big reveal. I always felt they were connected somehow. I didn't feel like they were
Sure.
two separate villains. I feel like that would be too messy. But I didn't
Well, because-
realize what they were actually doing.
Yeah.
I
I thought what it was is I thought we were repeating Iron Man 2. And Mandarin was Mickey Rourke and Killian was Justin Hammer.
That makes sense.
That's what I was nervous about us repeating. It didn't go that way, and so that wasn't so bad.
I don't want to gloss over this. I think one of the most exciting sequences in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe is the attack on his house.
Yeah.
I think that sequence is incredible.
It is jaw dropping.
And
And like
the-
him putting all the pieces.
the Brian
of armor on.
Tyler score is so
I was just
good.
about to bring up the score. Yeah.
The Brian Tyler score is
It's
great
so
in this
nice for
movie.
an Iron Man movie to have a score.
Yeah.
I wish they'd use
Not
it.
that the others have it, but they weren't very good.
They don't-
Couldn't
yeah.
remember a thing from them.
Brian Tyler has the best Iron Man score, and he creates a theme for Iron Man. And one of the things, and it's heightened by the sequence of losing the house, and the house falling apart is such an incredible sequence. Like I can't even. It's so visceral and exciting.
Like
and
him. So
Dummy
Mark
dies.
47, is that what it is?
The Mark 47,
So the
yeah.
47, like Tony could command every little piece to go wherever he wants, so he puts it on Pepper, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
And he gets Pepper out of there, and then Tony's like, all right, come back to me, and he is slowly assembling his own body together as he's trying to survive this explosion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it looks so good, and the special
does.
effects are so good.
When,
does.
when he
and-
falls
and-
into the water and his house falls on top, and Jarvis is like, "Sir, take a deep breath."
Yeah, it's really incredible.
It is.
It's super
and-
tense. Like,
and-
of course, you know he's not going to die,
and
but
Dummy falls off the ledge and dies.
Yeah.
Are we still at Ding Dong?
yeah.
I threatened a terrorist.
The terrorist. Why are we still at Ding Dong?
yeah.
And so he goes to the
Project. The house party protocol is really fun.
It's going to Illinois.
No,
What do
Tennessee.
sorry, whatever. I don't care.
People
do
in
we-
Tennessee care.
I'm sorry. What do we think about the kid? What do you think about the kid?
I generally don't like kid actors. I find him pretty fun.
Ty Simpkins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's
I
fun.
think it's because Shane Black just knows how to direct. So
He's
like,
way better in here than he is in Jurassic World.
I agree.
I agree.
yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just saying there's a reason why we haven't seen that kid much since.
Yeah.
He's going to be in Endgame probably.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
as another role from a Marvel film.
Yeah.
Like,
we ain't seen him in much else.
Like
Yeah,
I
you're
like it where he's like, "I'm cold," and then he drawing to his eyes like, "Worth a shot."
Is it what-
Oh, yeah, like,
is it-
'cause
I'm
we're
cold. I'm,
Yeah, he's
I'm
trying to-
cold.
I
I know. Do you know how I know? Because we're
He
connected.
tries to guilt trip Tony, and then he shows him like he shows him the Iron Man suit. And he's like, "I'm the mechanic," and it's like, okay, yeah, this kid doesn't really know where he is, or he doesn't know who
The
I am.
potato
He just
cannon,
knows, he knows the
whatever.
suit.
Yeah, I found that kid pretty enjoyable.
Yeah,
I found the scenes with him were pretty enjoyable
Yeah.
too.
I was going to say, sorry, real quick, back when we were talking about the house destruction scene, when he brought up the Jarvis bit, I totally forgot because I was scanning through my notes. It's Jarvis detaches the Iron Man hand in order to pull Tony
Yeah.
out himself. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
that was great.
So what do we think about Ben Kingsley's performance?
I love it. I love it.
I really
love it
like
so
the
much,
turn.
dude.
It's the first part I was sold. Like when I first saw him, he's like, "You'll never see me come." But
Yeah.
then when we finally find out who he really is, I'm like, this is great.
The
What?
reveal of Trevor Slattery is
Yeah.
really funny.
I like it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't then. I like it now.
Yeah, 'cause I think when I first saw it, I was like, wait, what?
And
I was dying in the theater.
a lot of people's I was laughing, but
I was
I
dying.
didn't love the turn. A lot of people's problems with this film, I think, comes down to a matter of expectation. And I will
100%.
go back and say that I think this movie was marketed wrong. I don't think they should have overplayed the Mandarin that way. I think you set people up to be disappointed.
See, the problem is, I agree, but the problem is there's no other villain because you can't reveal that Killian's bad.
You and I talked.
So you need a villain.
You and I talked about this recently, though. That what I feel they should have done is had just as much marketing about the Mandarin as there was of Talos for Captain Marvel. He's
You mean barely
present.
any?
Yes, he's present. You see him. You know he's the bad guy, but you're not falling in love with his performance in anticipation of the film.
That's true.
You're not seeing too much of what makes you want to see him play that role. So that when the turn happens, that's why we weren't upset, because we didn't see much of Ben Mendelsohn's performance. We weren't anticipating what he was going to be like as the Skrull. We just knew he was in it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that was the mistake.
Yeah.
We saw too much of him being good at being the Mandarin. We're like, oh man, this is like, especially because I think Iron Man especially has this problem because there was so much nervousness about how the Mandarin would be handled, because
Is he
of how
gonna
he'd be
be
translated
magic?
from the
Is he gonna be
comics
a
and everything.
racist
And
stereotype?
just seeing Ben Kingsley's performance, people were like, oh, I'm down for this.
Yeah.
And then it's not that.
Yeah.
And I think that was a miscalculation in the marketing.
I really love and he might not be the Mandarin from the comics, but Killian's idea of anonymity and being invisible and having a scapegoat. So
And he still isn't the real Mandarin.
Yeah, and I really love that idea.
Yeah.
Killian is a strange mix of Fin Fang Foom and the Mandarin.
Yeah, he's a cool syndrome.
No, you're right. Yeah, that's not a bad thing. though.
As soon as he breathes fire, I'm like, oh, they just like melded in some Fin Fang Foom there.
I mean, I didn't expect that. I just figured that was weird extremist stuff they're doing. But then once he took a shirt
The
off and he's got a
dragon
dragon,
touches.
I'm like, wow, you're just like a dragon, man.
yeah, they really have it. They really laid on the Foom.
Yeah, we talked about it in our last podcast episode, but it is a bummer Riri Williams didn't exist for the replacement
She just-
of Ty
just didn't
Simpkins
exist, yeah.
in this
Sure.
in this film, because obviously if she
would've been
did,
perfect.
it would have been her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No way would they have not done this same story and not put her there, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. I really like the part where Pepper puts on the Iron Man helmet in order to hear the call from Tony.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, me too.
And I really like that the Endgame trailer is calling back to that moment in a way.
Yeah, yeah, I did too. The sequence when we reveal who Trevor Slattery is really funny. As we stated, but one of my favorite lines is why didn't you use the panic button, Trevor? Well, I panicked, but then I
handled it, and then he opens a beer.
Or,
I think Ben Kingsley is he's really good.
One of the most
so
horrible
funny.
things Tony ever does is make those two women go into that bathroom right after he
Oh,
leaves and say
man.
they'll go in there for a half hour, and they go in and they're like, oh my God.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
dude, just the idea that like your presumed villain is just like a super substance abused old actor
Is that- what
who
was
just
it-
falls
what was it
asleep
like-
mid conversation.
What they said they'd take you off the drugs?
No,
Give
they
me more. They gave me more.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's,
I got a
he's very
speedboat.
good.
I got girls. It's
Yeah, he's great.
This is the Mandarin?
Before he's revealed as Trevor, one of my favorite scenes in the film, actually, even though it still remains that way, even though I know he's fake, and it's all fake now, is the part where he says, there's a number now on your phone, Mr.
Oh, I'm
President.
gonna
Call
shoot
that
this
number, or I'm going to shoot
congressman.
this man. I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
he's real nice. Roxon, by the way.
Roxanne. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm sure he's real nice.
Good,
I'm going to
strong
shoot him
man.
unless your president calls. The president calls, and he shoots him anyway. That's a great terrorist.
Oh,
scene.
yeah.
What was the line? Good strong man, good strong job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
I'm going
that.
to put a bullet in his head.
So run and hide. Send your
Yeah,
red,
yeah.
white, and blue attack dog on me.
That's
Ben Kingsley's super
and
good.
it made me like the president character who we've never had before. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I like him because everyone's like, you can't call and kowtow to terrorism
I
in front
have-
of.
I
And
have
he's
to
like,
do
this
this.
is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm down for that. And then later when we find out that the vice president was behind the whole thing, I was
Hell
like,
yeah.
oh, you dick.
What was
you
the?
dick.
What was the?
I apologize for Albert.
Albert. Yeah, it's Twin Peaks. He's in Twin Peaks.
Oh, what was the line? When they're trying to get Rhodey out of the suit, he's like, "No, don't open. All right,
Okay,
here we
we're
go."
doing
Yep.
this.
I love that.
There's a Superman punch.
I love Don Cheadle as Rhodey so much. I wish he was in this movie more. The
Don-
call
Don
between
Cheadle-
them or
this
Machine
is-
Rocks.
This is my favorite Don Cheadle performance. I think.
I enjoy Don Cheadle a lot in this movie, even when he's in
Oh,
this,
man,
or even like the when they're going through the thing in Miami before Tony's can't get the suit back, and I mean, he gets his gauntlet back, sure, and he's able to like mess those dudes up. And that one guy's like, honestly, I hate working here. They're so weird.
That action sequence is really good.
Yeah,
the
but then
sequence when he's just got the boot in the arm.
No, one of the best fake outs in the whole movie is the Air Force One scene. With the flight
that's a good one.
attendants flying off, and Tony's like, "How do I get him? How do I get him?" And he saves them all. And like, because when I first saw that, I'm on the edge of my seat. It's like, how is this going to happen? How is he going to?
That's a really. I was literally just about to bring that up. I really think the sequence, the two action sequences. Again, the action in this film is really good. The when he's just got the boot in the arm is a really good sequence, and then the
Air Force One rescue.
The Air Force One rescue.
That's all
is really,
real.
Yeah.
It's all like the behind the scenes on the DVD. Like they show, like those are all real people falling. Like that's an incredible stunt.
Yeah.
But one of the things I was also going to say that almost like maybe audibly gasped when I first saw this in the theater was the truck that hits the Iron Man suit. And
the reveal that he was never there.
Smashes it, and I'm just
Definitely
like, oh,
I'm
like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's a good fake out, and then he opens the door and he's on the boat.
I'm like I'm like shaking, waving my finger at the screen. I was
like,
like,
did you get it? Yeah, I got him.
You got me there, Tony Stark. You sly devil.
So let's talk about the house party protocol.
Nah.
Before we get there, the scene where Tony's going into the compound to get to Trevor, where he only has a gun and like a few
and a bunch
gadgets
of like
and everything.
home
That's an
alone.
excellent scene of him like making do.
Yeah.
And then when it gets to the part where he's escaping and the guy pulls the gun on him and he's like, honestly, I don't even like them. They're so weird. Just leaves.
Yeah, that actually reminds me. I also think the action sequence between him and Brand is really cool.
Yeah,
it is.
I think that's a really good one.
They got a good cheeky line about the title of his autobiography.
Yeah. Cheap trick and a one-liner.
Yep.
He makes grenades out of Christmas ornaments.
Yeah.
It's so awesome.
So the house party protocol.
Brandon?
Yes.
Christmas movie.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Because it's not set on Christmas Day.
Okay.
So far as we know.
Yeah.
I think the last action sequence is really inventive and a lot of fun with him bouncing through suits.
Actually, isn't the house party protocol moment happening during Christmas Day? Because don't we see the vice president celebrating Christmas with his family?
You do?
Sorry, I just had to ask. I think that's true.
It could be Christmas Eve.
Either way,
That's
Christmas.
Christmas.
No, it's morning.
No, because he does say, I'm about to have some Christmas ham. I'm about to have some ham.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yes,
I don't
it
care
doesn't
about this
matter.
conversation
It
anymore.
doesn't matter.
It's more of a joke.
But house party protocol.
As I was
all
saying.
the suits come out, and let's
I
get
think-
ready to party.
Can anyone counter that he should have used that earlier in the movie instead of at the very last scene because it's a big
The reason
thing?
why is because the cranes haven't opened the door to the basement yet.
Okay.
Because Jarvis does say, I have an
I'm-
update from Malibu, and they're about to work on the basement door.
Okay.
I'm not. I accept the criticism that he should have used them earlier because the whole thing of like, there's rubble, open the doors.
Yeah.
The rubble just falls through.
Yeah. The
Oh, no.
robots are on the sides. They're not in the hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how,
It's not like you're gonna hit anything.
That's the only like real like. Why didn't you just use this earlier?
Yeah.
But that's because it's a movie, of course.
It's a movie. I accept the criticism. It doesn't bother me.
Same.
I think the other suits are really well designed. I love all of them.
I wish
all the
I
ones we've
didn't
seen.
know from the trailers.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
yeah.
You know what? Yes, but at the same time, they still focus a lot on a lot of robots.
I mean,
Like,
at the same time, I don't think it's fair to criticize the marketing of a film that came out 7 years ago at this point because we're looking at these films just kind of like, these.
but I think it means that they showed a lot of the robots earlier.
right, but we're looking at the sequence as a cool sequence in this moment, and not necessarily as a moment.
Sure,
at
but
time.
we're also because we've never reviewed it before, and we're talking about what our first impressions were. And what I'll say is that I think in the marketing, like you either show less of Ben Kingsley as a Mandarin or don't show the house party protocol. Certainly, don't do both.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand.
I
that.
felt too much. I feel, in retrospect, too much of the movie was given away in trailers for Iron Man 3 and
Sure.
misleading and built wrong expectations. I understand why there are people who don't like this movie.
I agree with that.
Because
I
of what they
understand
went in expecting because of the trailers.
This is
I
very much like a Last
understand
Jedi kind of thing.
it.
I think.
I do get it.
I don't think quite as divisive.
Not as divisive.
It's not
no.
as divisive, but I do understand why the trailers made them want to see something they didn't get.
This is not a traditional superhero Iron Man movie for sure. It is
It's a-
action comedy.
It is a bold film of trying to deal with PTSD in a superhero film. You've never seen that before. But at any rate, I like all the designs of the suits, and I think the sequences when he's bouncing in and out of the suits is really fun and
I
really
agree.
cool, and something we have yet to see. We haven't seen.
There's like a dozen bots they get their own little moments of like,
Yeah.
oh, this robot holds stuff up, this robot breaks apart.
Yeah.
Like,
You see the stealth suit, the space suit, the Igor.
stealth suit. God,
We see
Proto Hulkbuster.
We
Hell
see
yeah.
we see some like the Silver Centurion suit. We see some suits from classic Iron Man done in the like, a more modern way.
I definitely. This was one like, oh my god, Hasbro, Marvel. Oh my god, you guys have so many toys now.
We finally see him in the Silver Centurion suit.
Yeah, it's one of my
That was
favorites.
cool.
100%.
I did not love that when the House Party Protocol shows up, Rhodey's like, give me a suit. And he's like, oh, I can't. And I'm like, why are you making Rhodey not be able to do anything? And then they kind of make it better because he goes and saves the president on his own
It's a
and
cool
gets the Iron
sequence.
Patriot suit back. But then they don't let him do anything in the Iron Patriot suit
Yeah.
after that. And that's a bummer.
I will agree with.
He just pieces out.
I will agree with the second part. The first part, I can understand because this is definitely something from the comics where like it is bio imprinted to Tony, so nobody can steal his suit. So I don't think he can fix that immediately.
Although in Iron Man 2,
Yeah.
it's revealed that he coded it so that Rhodey could also don the Iron Man
but
suits
that was
are bio-coded to him.
that was the original old Marc suit. That was the test one. That was not a newer one. So I don't think.
But why would he lock out Rhodey? Like he could add.
It's not
Rhodey
that he
just as
locked him
easily.
out. He's the only one who can use it. That's the difference. I accept that.
I mean, I can
As an
accept,
Iron Man character,
again,
I
I can
get that.
accept it, but then like, my point being like, I don't get as much Rhodey action in the final act of the film as I want.
Yes.
It does raise too many questions.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I do think the action sequence with him versus the Extremist Soldiers is pretty cool.
Him
And saving
being
the president.
a human being
Sure.
having to do all that stuff is a lot is more satisfying than
I agree
two
with
Iron
that.
Man.
I agree with that. I just wish he was more present.
Yeah,
Yeah, I really, man, I was watching watching it recently and just looking at the sequences where he just like jumps off a ledge and into a suit
or he does that, but there's not a suit there because it gets exploded, so he just falls.
or when he's fighting Aldrich and Aldrich like cuts down the
And he has to, like,
cuts off the
escape
leg and
from
escape
it.
the suit.
It's good, yeah,
This
yeah.
is the first film where a character loses an arm in a reference to Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
All of the Phase 2 films, a character loses an arm.
Oh jeez.
In a reference to Empire Strikes Back. And it started as an accident, but this was the first time. It's
Yeah.
Aldrich. Aldrich loses his arm.
That makes sense.
Right. Well, and also
Grows
we
it
had
right
the
back.
redhead lady who didn't have an arm, and James Badge Dale's arm gets damaged, and
It all
all
grows
kinds
back.
of
It all
arm
grows back.
damage
Yeah.
in this one.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel when Pepper fell?
Didn't
The
care.
first time. I'm talking the first
I
time.
thought she was gonna die.
Yeah.
I definitely thought like this is like because there really hasn't been any sad stuff really in this movie besides the PTSD stuff. But I was like, I fully expected there to be like a sad part.
I knew there was going because she has got the extremist running through her. I knew she was going to come up and
Yeah.
I didn't feel like that was going to be a guarantee she was safe.
sure.
No.
I didn't think it was a guarantee, but like
I
should
figured,
have
I figured like, oh, they probably aren't going to kill her, right? But
yeah.
Sure.
you never know.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember questioning it
I
at
will
the
say
time.
I don't like how quickly. Yeah, we fixed her and she's normal now. That was
Yeah.
it's literally one line. We're like, yeah, she's fixed. Like, ooh, that's real fast.
Although you're wrapping up the film and it's like
You are.
I fixed
And he's-
her. I got my heart fixed.
Well, and he says like, I had this thing almost figured out when I was hungover,
That's
almost a decade
20
ago.
years ago.
20
Yeah.
years ago, yeah.
Imagine what I could do now.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, I kind of buy it because like the whole reason why it wasn't working was because they were trying to get Tony to help them fix it, and he hadn't done it yet. So
yeah, I guess you got a point. He did. You know what? That's true. He did write it on the back of a card, like blacked out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
you and I, when we were watching it, Ryan, we had an interesting little thing because we were talking about the whole Killian being the Mandarin. You'd forgotten that Killian was in fact not the Mandarin, not the real.
Well, because
Mandarin.
of that one shot, right?
Right, because
Yeah.
of the one shot where it's established that there is a Mandarin. Well, also, and it's hinted, it's kind of hinted.
It's a little
earlier
hinted in this
with
film.
Ben Kingsley that they gave him, they
A
made him
makeover.
look differently. They made so he was modeling a particular person.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is the one shot where they reveal that the Mandarin is a real person and still out there. But you brought it up,
It's a
and I
good one
agreed
shot.
with you that if he had been the original Mandarin, it would have been really cool if he had been the Mandarin the whole time since Iron Man 1. And this had actually been a full
Because
trilogy comeback
they've been filled-
on Tony from
Yeah.
him doing this whole time.
The Ten Ring stuff has been in both those movies, and like they
Exactly.
don't really utilize it.
No, they don't.
Well,
and they still
that's-
don't.
I think the Mandarin was always part 3, but I do think Justin Hammer was supposed to be in this film. And I think it was supposed to be different. It was going to be more classic Mandarin to kind of wrap up that
And man,
Ten
like
Rings trilogy.
going back to Matt Fraction's run, like he incorporates extremists and he incorporates Justin Hammer. He incorporates the Ezekiel Stain, Obadiah Stain's son,
Sure.
into all of this stuff. And I'm like, they definitely could have done like Mandarins in there too. Like they definitely could have done something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
But it might have been too big.
they probably, the contracts back then. Tony, like this was the last movie that RDJ was contracted for. Like this was it.
Yeah.
Like he had a 5-film deal. He was the first Marvel actor to be signed on, and I remember there was a lot of, is he going to sign back on? And he luckily he used the leverage of coming back to get his co-stars a bigger pay bump.
Nice.
And I really like that. I really admired that. But this was it. So perhaps the idea was to do another one to have a quote unquote real Mandarin. But because he was up already, it was just not in the cards at that point.
Sure.
But I do think that now with the short, it's like the real Mandarin is the one that did Iron Man and
you know
Iron
what,
Man 2 and
yeah,
not killing
What
him.
bums me out is like I don't. Because, like, the Mandarin is an Iron Man villain, but that his power is so high, he could definitely be an Avengers villain, 100%. And I don't think, especially now that we're Cosmic Thanos level, I think Mandarin is just done. I think we're done with the Mandarin.
Unless Doctor Strange takes him on.
That's not...
Who knows?
I mean, that doesn't...
Who can say?
That rarely ever happened in the comics. Like, even.
No, I get
But
you.
who can say? Like
Yeah.
anything can happen.
Yeah.
We're here.
but
anything can happen.
But my point being, like, I kind of agree with you that, like, if Killian had been the Mandarin or Kingsley or whatever, if they had established that, yes, he was in fact the Mandarin behind the Ten Rings the entire time, that would have been a really cool, like,
Make him so much
arc
more personal
circle
for Tony.
that I
Yeah.
really would have liked, and it's a shame that that's kind of a missed
The
opportunity.
Ten Rings created Iron Man, and Iron Man is the one who defeats the Ten Rings. Like, it is a perfect circle.
Yeah, you'd have to... That would have to be part of the film in order to
Retroactively.
in order to complete it, and it's a shame that they never even touch on the fact that the Ten Rings were.
I bet that's
Yeah,
something.
it was just something.
That's something they would think of now, but this trilogy's over now.
It was just something that came up in our rewatch that I was like, you're right. That would have been neat.
Yeah.
It doesn't take away from this film that much. It's just like, that would have been cool.
Yeah.
So let's wrap up.
The ending's kind of weird.
How so?
It feels like Tony saying goodbye to being Iron Man, even though he isn't. It feels that way in a lot of ways.
You know
Yeah,
what? I
it kinda
never.
does.
So I've heard this before. I've never thought that. I've never gotten the impression that he was saying goodbye. Because at the end, he throws away the arc reactor and is like, I don't need this. I am Iron Man.
Yeah, no, I know he says that it's partially the destruction of all the units.
Sure.
And it's kind of the like I'm going on to do something else. It feels like I'm done being involved in this, but I'm done. I'm still going to be Iron Man, but it's not going to be the same.
It does.
It doesn't feel like it's going to be the same.
It
but
does
then it
feel
is.
like a send off.
Yeah.
When it's obviously it's
the
not.
tone of the film's ending feels like.
Sure.
I do
bye-bye.
agree because like him destroying all of his suits, like that really feels like he could still be in the movies, but like I don't need to be Iron Man anymore.
But to me, I took it as, and this is back even when the movie came out. Like to me, I always took it as he's destroying all these suits because he doesn't need all of them. He just needs one. And that's all he needs to be Iron Man.
And I guess that makes more sense. How many? But he has more than one suit in Age of Ultron.
No, he doesn't.
Hulkbuster?
That was created with Banner. So because that's a different thing.
That's a defense.
And even then, he goes to one suit later on. Like he's only ever had one
Yeah,
suit.
instead
at a
he
time.
creates an Iron Army.
Yeah.
But but it just does feel like tonally it's just a little off.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can understand that. I never
considering the follow-ups.
I never got the impression, perhaps contractually, they were kind of thinking that maybe if we can't get him back, this
It'd
would
be like
the
a light
ending.
send off just in case.
Yeah, perhaps. I don't
Yeah.
know. I honestly don't know.
You have to imagine Ultron was in development at this point, though.
I think that they had an idea for what they wanted to do for a next Avengers movie, but I don't know if it was quite there yet.
Maybe not while they were in production on this. I think by the time it was getting close to release, they knew, but I don't think they knew while they were making it.
Yeah, and you know what? You're
Because they were making it like pre Avengers release, they'd started making it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think I think there is something to what you're saying. The credits often feel like a send off as well with the idea that's with all the other movies and the credits.
Yeah.
This is the post credit sequence with Banner is pretty cool.
he looks real weird with a shaved head.
Yeah, he does.
Because he wasn't Bruce
Ready
Banner.
to be
he
Bruce
was
Banner. Yeah, he does
character
not
in
look
the
like
movie.
Bruce. He looks a little different.
Yeah.
A little weird.
Shall we move on to next film?
Stan Lee cameoed in the pageantry scene.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
where
yeah.
Yes, he did.
I'm just making notes of Stan Lee's cameos.
Gary.
Yeah, there's Gary.
Yeah.
Gary needs
yeah.
Tony. And Tony needs Gary.
That's great.
All right, then let's get on to the next film in our journey.
Winter Soldier, right?
Thor: The Dark World.
Damn, can we not?
So like
This is my least favorite.
this
film.
is without a doubt the Marvel movie I've seen the least.
Yeah.
And I remember why now because it's not good. That being said, for 21 movies in a franchise, if this is the worst you got, this is pretty good.
So
to be like compared to bad movies.
again,
Yeah.
let's throw ourselves back. 2014. This one
I was
came out,
really
I
excited,
think.
especially because the Game of Thrones director was on
No,
board.
this was also 2013. This
was November.
November 2013. So now you're Alan Taylor's directing Thor 2. Don't care who's writing it.
Yeah.
The next Thor film. What are we thinking? What are we thinking? Return of Jane Foster.
I go in jazzed. I think, oh no, is this the downfall of Marvel?
See, I disliked this film a little later.
Yeah.
I was kind of.
I immediately disliked
I
it.
had an issue. I had an interesting issue in my youth that I've finally kind of grown out of. Like I would always go into a film and like I like this movie, and then I would leave, and a couple months later be like, did I?
Yeah, you have to think about
I
it.
definitely remember because Brandon, you and I saw this again. We were living at Seaside. I was back at school.
Star Trek Into Darkness,
Yep.
Nope.
Batman v Superman.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh.
Which one?
5?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like 5.
You came out of it feeling more positive until you and I talked about it later.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right.
I know.
I didn't like
You know,
it.
there are some times where you don't want to dislike a movie,
Yeah.
and this definitely for me was one of them. But I immediately knew I'm like, man,
Yeah, I didn't
Thor the
start.
Dark-
I seriously didn't start hating Pirates 5 until after I thought about it for a little bit.
Sparks, you want to? What were your 2013? November 2013. What'd you think?
I don't remember, and I think that's kind of telling in
That's-
itself.
Yeah.
You and I, Brandon, went to the city together, and I remember us getting out of it. We thought it was good, not great, but it was good. And then the hype for Winter Soldier was coming up, so we just forgot about it.
Yeah, this film is an interesting beast. I've talked about at length about my dislike of this film. I do think it's got some really good comedic moments.
I think it's got a lot of really good moments, just surrounded by shit.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and I want to get through this stuff off the top of this discussion. I know a lot about the behind the scenes stuff with this film. Alan Taylor was very open about the idea that the script wasn't working, so Joss Whedon would have to be airlifted in to shoot parts of this movie because the script just wasn't there.
I didn't know this.
He was actually very open about it before the movie came out, and he stopped talking about it after the movie came out.
Makes sense.
He would talk about it a lot. He's like, yeah, we had Joss Whedon it was crazy, like a spy, like airlifted him in. And like it's a good thing, but now you're kind of like, oh, no.
he was there for support.
Alan Taylor did not like working with Marvel. He actively didn't like Ike or Kevin.
It seems
Feige.
like this period of Marvel is where the turmoil starts happening.
Yes.
Because like Age of Ultron, this Ant-Man, it's like where they're figuring out where they are going for the future.
And a lot of it
Yeah.
is Ike Perlmutter.
Yeah.
A lot of the problems. This is where the problems with Ike Perlmutter start happening. This is when Kevin Feige's frustration with Ike starts happening. Alan Taylor didn't like working with Marvel. He didn't like working on this movie, which means Anthony Hopkins also didn't like working with Alan Taylor. So
Yeah,
he didn't like
it
working on this
shows.
movie, and definitely shows.
It shows.
Yeah, it shows.
And Natalie Portman was already pissed off at Marvel for not going with Patty Jenkins for the director of this film.
Man, we wouldn't have gotten Wonder Woman, which is a shame. But
Yeah.
like, I can't imagine like if this was like a really good movie.
Right, Patty
Couldn't
Jenkins directing
imagine.
this one. So there's a lot of behind the scenes turmoil with this film. This film was very troubled going into it, and it shows. And a lot of the performances, Natalie Portman's out already.
Eccleston hated it too.
Huh?
Eccleston
hated
too.
it because they cut everything he did.
What
Which
talk
is
about
not the first time they've had this
talk
problem.
about like
Yep.
a lot like a wasted character.
This is
truly.
the worst villain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, probably.
I think so.
Yeah, I agree.
Sparks is thinking.
Yeah, no,
I am thinking.
No, I
Yeah.
definitely, I'd probably.
I think it's tied
Yeah.
between him and Whiplash.
But I find Whiplash more entertaining 100% because
That's
I
fair.
Want My
Yeah.
Bird is at least funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas there's literally nothing to
There's
this
nothing
character.
to this character,
He's
no.
just a bad boy.
It's like I'm supposed to destroy
We open-
things because I have to.
Yeah.
Because
We
the
open
script
on
tells
another
me to do it.
flashback. We open up on another flashback just like Thor, with Bor, Thor's grandfather,
Man,
Miscellaneous.
what a bore.
And they're fighting the Dark Elves,
I will
who are
say-
reimagined as primordial
Yeah.
creatures.
I will say, like, as bad as this movie is, I think a lot of the design is really good.
I was gonna say that too. I think
Yeah.
like all the armor designs and the way look of the Dark Elves and
And,
everything. I think that all looks great.
The Asgardian vibe blades, like their light blades, are super cool.
That said, I hate the design of Asgard.
Yeah.
They they took the color and they toned it way down to gray. They took it from
definitely-
gold to gray.
They definitely normalized it for the rest of the MCU,
yeah.
which I don't dislike it.
Asgard doesn't feel as grand anymore.
It's not as fantastical, that's for sure.
And that's a shame. It doesn't hurt the movie. There's a lot more things that hurt this movie. That is low on it. And I think, man, Anthony Hopkins is just sleeping his way through this movie.
So I thought about that because you've said that before, and I don't always agree with you.
Not. I agree. Not the entire way, but there are definitely scenes where he brought it and scenes he did not.
And the
Yeah.
scene where he's talking to Loki in the opening, I don't think he's sleeping through that scene.
No.
I think that scene actually has kinetic
I
energy.
I disagree with that. I think he's absolutely not there. For
No,
it.
I think the moment
He's
when he
more-
faces Loki and it's him playing off the moment where we last left the two of them, which was when he fell off the bridge, and before that when he fell into the Odin sleep. I do think Anthony Hopkins is playing that moment.
Interesting.
You might not agree with how he's playing
No,
that moment, but I
I-
do think he's playing it.
I think he's. I disagree because he's just kind of like the whole bit where he's just like, "But you're not king, get." And like there's nothing behind his eye, and he's only working with one eye. And like, to be fair, but there's nothing there. He's not giving any
What
emotion.
are you talking about? But he's not. But you're not king.
He's like, I was gonna. It was. He yells at Loki for being a king.
That specific line's from Thor 1, but the line, I know what you're referencing, like when he's talking to Loki. And Loki's like, well, I'm supposed to be king. And he's like, but you're not.
Yeah,
It's a
somewhere-
similar line to Thor 1 where he
Okay.
goes, but you're not king. It's
Yeah,
similar. But I agree.
There's nothing behind the eye here.
Yeah.
And it's never more prevalent when he's looking at Frigga when Frigga goes off and he's just like, even my wife, I can't even like. My wife
Even
worries
my wife.
about me, so
He definitely,
line-
he's very inconsistent. Because, like, I won't say he's entirely sleeping, but he's definitely napping. He's definitely napping in this movie.
when
Definitely when he talks to Thor the first time, he's like, "Least you can do is pretend to enjoy it." It's like, wow,
Yeah.
no emotion there whatsoever.
Yeah.
Got it.
yeah, there's Anthony Hopkins is for me the low part of this film, and knowing what he can do with like he's got a very subtle performance in Thor. And this one, he's not even giving that, and it's very rough for me to watch his performance.
Yeah, there's no
I
good
just-
Anthony.
I-
There's no good Anthony Hopkins moment where it's like, it's just more of a.
Yeah.
No, I stand by that. I completely disagree. I think he is bringing a seething disappointment and rage to the scene where he's reprimanding Loki for what he did on Earth.
I'll give you one scene out of the whole movie.
No, and I'm not defending the whole movie, but I am saying that I think that, and I do think that it's purely like, I think when he was working with Tom Hiddleston,
He brought it.
he was doing something because Tom Hiddleston was doing something with him too. And that's me kind of crediting Tom Hiddleston for playing the moment too.
You can
understand that.
definitely tell there's a lot more Loki than originally was in this movie.
One of the only Marvel films that suffered from intense reshoots.
Because Avengers, like, oh man, people love Loki. Let's get
Yeah.
him way more prison scenes, please.
So they added a lot of scenes, and I really wish Loki at the end of this movie it was clear that Loki was dead. Like there's no reveal that there's no hints, there's no reveal that he's alive. But at the end of this movie, he's dead.
Yeah.
And I think that would have been. You still have the moment with the prison with the guard showing up on Svartalheim.
Mm-hmm.
You still have that moment, but you don't have the shimmer anymore.
But that guard gives like a little smirk, right?
Right, you take the
Yeah.
smirk.
Yeah,
You take the smirk away. You take
exactly.
the shimmer away when we first see him,
Yeah.
and you take the. And I think the movie still works, and you don't lose the moment between Odin and Thor, where
Yeah.
Odin is saying he was proud of Thor,
Which is the other moment that I think Anthony Hopkins does decently.
Sure. I mean, we don't. Have
I'm
to
not
get
I,
into it,
like
yeah.
I'm only saying like
We're trying to find positivity where we
Yeah.
can find.
Yeah, I get that.
So this movie's about one of the Infinity Stones. That's not a stone. It's a goop.
Boy, that's confusing.
Loki caused war across all 9 of the realms.
Yes, he did.
How? Why? How? Where? How? Why? How?
Well,
He didn't invade with a Chitauri.
They say.
So ever since the Bifrost were destroyed, chaos has erupted from
Now,
all
is
9
that
realms.
because
But why?
the agents of Asgard, who are like the space police, can't enforce the will?
I think.
Is that what they're trying to
Sure.
imply?
I
Because
think
that's
so.
not what
I think
they
because,
are.
I think
They're not
because,
police.
All right, Brian, don't make fun of me for this. I think because the ruffians and the stop with that look.
I'm just looking at you.
The guy, the
Is
essentially
this a
the
hook reference?
huh
Rufio?
ruffians.
Ruffians.
Oh.
Yeah, essentially these bad guys who knows like, the Odin or whoever, or the Asgard.
Dad's not watching, let's cause a wreck.
Yeah, they have the Bifrost. They can get to us. Since Thor destroyed the Bifrost, and they're like, sweet, no supervision.
Yeah.
Let's wreck some shit.
I that makes sense. They don't.
That's what, because
that doesn't make sense in the movie.
Yeah,
Hogan,
they don't say it, but they're like,
Yeah.
ever since the
Hogan-
Bifrost was destroyed, Loki brought the Bifrost. Ever since the Bifrost was destroyed,
we
chaos
need-
has erupted in all the realms.
We need
Yeah,
more than
sure.
one line.
Hogan just pieces out early in the
He
movie.
goes back to hang out with his homies,
in Vanaheim.
Yeah.
He's just
Yeah.
like, okay, bye.
hanging out with my homies.
Pretty much.
I mean, the Warriors 3 are so underserved in this movie.
Yeah,
I like when Thor's fighting with them in the opening.
Yeah.
It's nice to see.
It's nice to see.
It's a nice action moment.
That action moment's pretty good. It's got also got some good comedy moments in
Sif's
that
fun.
moment.
Yeah.
And
Perhaps
they
they should
bring
have
back the
started with the
theme.
big one.
They bring back the theme, yeah.
The music in this is not actually the music in this. Is
The
one
music
of the
is
better things
good.
in the movie.
Brian Tyler, yeah.
Yeah.
Brian Tyler.
Brian
again.
Taylor is good.
Yeah. And then there was the Warriors, the Zachary Levi's first as Fangel.
Uh-huh. Pretty much only. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they all get moments, but they're
Sif
still
gets the most.
Steph gets the most.
Not as much as Thor 1.
She is arguably better in this movie than in Thor.
Yeah.
I think even performance wise.
Sif or
Sif, yeah.
Yeah.
There's one shot of Jane looking at Sif.
And Sif looking back,
And
then
I'm
the-
like, man, there's a great love triangle
There
a
is,
thing
but
that we never have happen in this
there
movie.
is, because I see that too. This is I think the second time I actually watched the whole movie.
Yeah.
Where I see Lady Sif look at Jane Foster. I'm thinking, ooh,
This
They
has
don't
the-
do anything
they
with
don't
it.
do
Speaking of
shit
Sif,
with
this
it.
has the best cameo in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Chris Evans.
Yeah.
The Chris
Of course.
Evans
Yes,
cameo
it is the best cameo.
is so good.
Truth, justice, God bless him.
yeah.
So,
It
you
is-
want to have
it
a
is
rousing
charming.
discussion of truth, justice, God bless America.
Yeah. I like it.
I think. Have you seen the behind the scenes stuff for this one?
No, I
It's
haven't.
really funny. They put Hiddleston in the Avengers costume to act it out, and then they put Chris Evans in it.
Chris Evans being Loki, being Captain America.
Yeah.
It's real
It's
good.
so
It's so
good.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that bit's really really cool.
So, Jane
the-
Foster. Oh, no. What are you going to say?
I was gonna say the Aether wakes up the Dark Elves because
Because
Oh,
this
apparently-
doesn't make any sense. It's an Infinity Stone.
I
It's
really
like,
hate the ether. The just kind of the amalgamous thing that is the ether. It's like I think one of the reshoots was, can you make this Infinity Stone? Like, because they're just like, what? Because you don't see him talking.
yeah.
You just
narration,
See,
yeah.
It's just to see narration over the book where he says, "Well, the other stones appear as
the other
solid.
That
This
book-
one is fluid."
that book looks real dope.
Yeah, it does.
The book is dope. Actually, one of the things about the Guardians of the Galaxy ride at Disneyland is that they have a book with the Dark Elves in it. I'm like, oh,
It's that book. It's
That-
that book.
that's-
yeah.
that
But it
is
doesn't
dope.
look as cool.
it's still dope looking.
Heimdall's performance in this is a good blend of his stoicism and monotone presence and what he would later do in Ragnarok. I like this kind of
agree.
in-between
Yeah.
space. I
I
think
like him in
Heimdall's
this.
performance
It
in this is really great.
I
It's
like
like
him in this. Yeah,
It's like Heimdall is kind of more warming up. He's like, okay, I don't have to have such a
also-
stick up my ass, but it's like
Yeah.
I could still do my job and be chill.
I also think Hiddleston and Hemsworth work really well together.
They
in this
still
movie.
do.
I think there's a lot of great moments, like when they're escaping Asgard in the ship. It's like, well done, you just happened to be your grandfather.
I would argue that Hemsworth kind of doesn't play very well with anybody except for him in this movie.
yeah, I agree. I don't think he and Jane have very.
I
good
think-
And I want to remind that
Yeah.
this is early in Hemsworth's career, and I
Yeah.
don't think he'd found enough footing. And he had a lot of help, I think, from Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not a lot of help from Alan Taylor on this
No.
one. And
Yeah.
so he was just relying on actors. This is part of the reason why I think Anthony Hopkins is more lively when he was with Tom Hiddleston than when he's talking, because all his other scenes are mostly with Chris Hemsworth.
Right.
I think Chris Hemsworth doesn't always know how to. I'm not saying it's only Chris's fault, but I don't think he always knows at this time in his career how to feed him the proper energy that's needed for a scene. And Anthony Hopkins just wasn't going to do the legwork
Yeah.
to make
Yeah.
it better.
Yeah, I think Hemsworth and Portman are terrible together in this movie.
And I'm not knocking Chris for that. I'm saying that I don't think that the director gave enough direction to
Yeah.
Hemsworth, who is still kind of finding his footing as an actor at this time,
Yeah.
to improve him, because we know he's not a bad actor. We've seen him in the movies before. I don't think he was directed well.
Right.
And I think Hiddleston brought more out of him, because Hiddleston's that kind of actor who I think gives you a lot.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Chris O'Dowd is in this movie for some reason.
He doesn't even
O'Dowd-
remember.
Chris O'Dowd didn't remember he was in a Thor movie.
I
Yeah.
completely forgot about Jane dating that other guy. I was like,
Going on a date. I wouldn't say dating.
well,
First date.
still, but going out on a date, I
Yeah.
completely forgot about that.
So did he.
There's a funny bit when they're escaping Asgard, and this is as graceful as ever, Loki is the whole thing. I think that's a good sequence for Fandral. But when they're escaping Asgard and they get to Svartalheim, as soon as they pop out, Hiddleston just goes ta-da,
Ta-da.
and that killed me in the
It's
theater.
good.
I was
Still
on
one of
the
my-
floor.
honestly,
I still
still-
laugh about that.
It's a
moment.
really
Yeah.
funny line.
Yeah,
I think.
Hiddleston, as much as Hemsworth's trying to find his footing, I know Hiddleston is doing his
But
damnedest.
I think they're.
I feel
I think they're really good together.
Yeah, even when he's interacting with the other warriors, like when they're like, "You betray him," like, he's like, "Yeah," and like when he goes up to,
Evidently, they're bad lines.
yeah, like he goes to the bigger one whose name I completely forget,
Falstaff.
Falstaff. He's like, "Evidently, there'll be a line," because
That's a great
Yeah.
build bit.
Yeah.
still good, like Loki being Loki, and
Or the
like
or the line when they're on the boat and they're just like, she wouldn't want us to fight. Well, she wouldn't actually be shocked.
Yeah.
I think that's also really good.
Uh-huh.
Their turn when they're fighting on Svartalheim, I think their fight sequence together, really cool to see them fighting together, and
Uh-huh.
the whole trick of like
Cutting your arm
cutting
off.
the arm
Cutting
off.
the arm off.
That whole thing is really solid. The whole it's kind of fist pumping. It's like
All the action is
Now
like, I have
Loki.
no problems with any
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
action, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
the fight scenes are good. It's just everything else really.
It's just, man,
Although,
I really,
it's,
I think
it's good moments, not wrapped in a good shell.
like
I
when the
think
dark
Ja- like-
elves when the dark elves invade Asgard, and then Malekith comes up. He has a black hole grenade. He just tosses like
black hole grenades are cool,
yeah,
man.
but he's like, "F your chair."
Yeah, but he destroys
he
the
throws it on the
throne
throne
out of
of that-
spite.
he-
That's the one character moment he gets.
Yeah.
the one.
Frigga dies in this movie.
She
also,
does.
Yeah,
She had a good moment with
She did.
Loki before that.
she does.
Yeah.
She
I really
does.
like that scene.
Me too. I don't like that Frigga dies in this movie. I think it's
I don't like that
useless.
either.
However, the funeral sequence is really pretty
It is
Yeah.
very pretty.
super awesome Viking funeral.
Yeah, it's very
with
pretty.
a great score by Brian Tyler.
yeah,
Very pretty.
Thor has rain powers, I guess,
Sure,
for a second.
I guess so.
but
Does he
not
ha-
lightning powers.
Does he have this in the comics?
No,
Okay,
No.
I think
just wondering.
man, I think Thor's fine.
You know, I hadn't noticed and realized that was happening and a problem.
Well,
until
doesn't that-
this rewatch, I was
Question.
like,
yeah,
When the rain happens, is that after Jane gets the ether stuck in her body?
Yes.
yes, because she comes out and then
Uh-huh.
it doesn't rain around her.
Yeah, so I'm thinking the whole rain powers isn't Thor, it's Jane.
No,
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 because
Thor,
he
because
stops
because
it.
Darcy
Because-
says,
yeah.
"Is this you?" And,
And
he
he
looks
goes-
up and it stops.
Yeah.
it was Thor.
It definitely
and
was Thor.
Thor had a circle around him and a circle around Jane, and the circle
He's
follows
not
Jane till she
Aurora.
gets him.
He's
I
not
didn't-
Storm.
I didn't catch
No
that.
way.
Never
Yeah.
mind, I did not catch that part.
Jane
The-
Foster sucks, and I hate that the whole plot revolves around her and the ether. I think it's
Yeah.
terrible. I
Though,
think it's terrible.
I think she's fun on Asgard. I think she's having a little fun there.
I like when she slaps Loki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she's having a little fun when she's first on Asgard and she's like, "Did you tell your dad about me?" I think there's a little bit of fun in that moment.
Natalie Portman is trying to be very fun and entertaining in a script and role that is not
providing it.
doing very much.
Like I thought
for
the date,
her.
like I like Chris O'Dowd, but just like I didn't think that scene was funny. Just
Seabass.
repeating Seabass 10 times.
Yeah.
That's like wow, it's just bad
I
improv.
agree with you. Like
I think it's bad improv.
The writing is not great. I appreciate that she's at least trying to be an engaged character.
Uh-huh.
She has the whole moment. I like that moment where she explains that. So this is like and she says whatever, like a basic science term for what it is, and it's like it's a soul rejuvenation chamber. And
So
she's
Soul
like,
Forge.
Yeah.
Soul Forge, and she says, does it do this? And they're like, yeah, and it's like, yeah, same thing. Yeah, that's that.
And it bums me out because like
I like those moments with
Yeah.
her.
because like at the exact same time this movie came out, Jason Aaron's Thor run was starting, and like Thor, Jane becomes Thor for years and
Sure.
years, and I'm like, man, you have this incredible character that we can do so much with, and it bums me out that like she's just doing nothing.
You know what? If Ike hadn't fired Patty Jenkins, we might have gotten a good Jane performance.
ooh, buddy,
Frigga's moment with Malekith before she dies, where she says, "I'll never tell you," and he's like, "I believe you," and then has her murdered.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool moment.
yeah,
That is a cool
Yeah.
moment.
she has a good fight. Yeah.
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 Dude, Heimdall takes down one of their ships is one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
He jumps onto it. Yeah.
He's just like, no invisible ship getting in my place.
And then
jump
he's
on
like-
daggers.
He's like,
takes
ha,
it down.
I take down the ship. 20 more Shelby's like,
Yeah.
Odin,
like,
damn it.
The action is not the problem with this movie. It's like it's the script
Yeah.
and the characters
Yeah.
and like what do you
The
As,
final sequence is pretty is
with
really
them
cool.
jumping
also.
between worlds
Yes.
is super cool.
You know what? Another thing was, much like the criticism, much like with Iron Man 3, this film suffered from similar criticism where they were going like, oh, they wanted that to be, because of the criticism of the first Thor, we'll make this one darker, we'll set it we'll set it more in space, and we'll blah, blah, blah. See, shut up. Make the movies you want to make.
One
This is the
thing-
problem. This is the thing. Sorry, Ben. Real quick tangent. This is the thing that Marvel has gotten good at, but they didn't start this way, especially in Phase 2. Feige, what he does is he gives you point A, he gives you point B. Whatever happens in the middle, that's your movie.
Yeah.
You do whatever you want. Back then, that was not the case.
Again, this couple years is really the only problem moments.
Yes.
So it's really cool they figured it out.
But there's one other positive, because I know we want to try to be positive. You know, with this movie, we're
I also want to try and get out of it as quickly as I can.
Yeah, but Stellan Skarsgård's performance.
Yeah, again,
especially
he's
him
super fun.
because it makes sense. He's like, I had a god in my head. It does things to you. And of course, Stanley's like, can I have my shoe back?
Yes.
But not to anybody else.
So it's really great. Selvig's performance. I noticed it this time because I was taking notes and I was like, oh, like the editing, and I don't mean like specifically the editor, but where they decide to place scenes in this film is terrible. What happens is early in the film, with no real reason, we see Selvig running around naked in Stonehenge.
Yes.
Then it's not
exactly
referenced
what
for
you're
a
talking
long
about.
time. And then we have Frigga die, and then after she dies, and not...
Darcy and intern are talking in the
and then
loft,
the
right?
funeral happens, right?
Yeah.
And then it immediately cuts from the funeral to Selvig explaining the convergence. And then it cuts back to Asgard from Selvig explaining the convergence with the Stan Lee
so
cameo.
much.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't take until later when Darcy and the guy are watching the news again a few scenes later that they see the same footage we saw earlier of Selvig running around naked in Stonehenge. So it's like, why'd you even show us that if it wasn't going to be referenced earlier? And then why did we jump to him for no reason right after the funeral, right after an important emotional beat?
They wanted to make
all
the
of
movie
those
longer.
things, all of those things. The Stonehenge thing should have just been left in the Darcy and them watching it scene. We should have just seen it then.
This movie
and
is
then
too
it should have
long.
immediately gone to have him explaining the convergence scene right before they come and say, "Hey, people are here for you," and then he gets pulled out of the asylum. That's where Selvig should have been.
Right.
But they placed it all over the movie,
Yeah.
and it made no sense.
I don't know if the movie's too long, but I will say the pacing's bad because like 3/4 of the way through the movie, I was like, "Is this the end of the movie?" And then there was like, "Oh wait, we still have an entire final action scene to go through." And I was like, "Oh, I'm kind of done.
Another
I'm kind of done here."
I'm okay.
another funny part is
Wow, it's only under 2 hours.
Doesn't
Feels
feel like
a lot
it.
longer.
It does. But another funny part with Selvig is when he sees Thor, he's like, "Where's Loki? Loki's dead. Oh, thank God. I mean, I'm so sorry." He hugs him. He's like, "Yay!"
I think that's kind of funny.
That is funny.
He's
Yeah.
like, where's your brother's not coming, is he? Loki's dead. Oh, thank God.
And then
yeah.
Thor's like, "Dude," he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry for your loss."
As Ryan pointed out to me, or Ben, I don't remember which one of you did it when we were rewatching it, but the like juiced up dark elf smashes the shield generator,
The curse.
which is a great move, and it does no damage to him.
No, I think that was Ryan.
Yeah,
Did you
and it's
guys-
like,
Yeah,
why
'cause I
did
was
this?
like, "Oh, he should have died." Right?
Why did this even happen?
Did you
Like,
guys
they
see-
make it so easy?
That is one weak ass shield generator.
Did you guys see that he throws Taserface into the grid? To get out of the cell, the person he picks up and throws into the shield is Taserface from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Is it
Really?
actually?
It's the actor.
Not
if it's the
same
actor, I'll
character.
believe it.
It is the actor.
I'll believe it.
But I saw his face. I was like, is that how his face became so
That's
messed
actually
up?
pretty funny. If that's
I
true.
think it would be really funny.
Yeah.
Huh.
That would be pretty good.
That would.
I just thought that was funny.
I kind of appreciate Odin being war crazed after Frigga's death and removed. I wish they did more with that.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate like the idea of like Frigga died and he kind of shuts down and becomes like the war crazed Odin we'll hear about in Ragnarok.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
I just wish they did more with it. I like pretty much everything they did with Loki. I liked. I know that they crammed it up into this film, but I did like it. I liked his reaction to Frigga's death. I liked the creation of the illusion when he's talking with Thor and he's saying, "Trust my rage." All of those things I like in building his character.
Yeah, I like the Loki stuff in this movie actually.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that he's alive at the end of the movie.
And then they show. I mean, obviously,
He was supposed to die at the end of the film.
Oh yeah, Svartalheim looks like crap, and I hate being
It's
there.
just
no.
boring.
Not only that, when Malekith gets powered up, his white skin becomes dark, and the scar
Oh.
and the
Yeah,
his half face
that was real
doesn't
dumb.
freaking matter anymore, and it's stupid. Thanks, I hate it.
So we all enjoyed Loki's death more this time because of Ragnarok.
Oh, dude.
Because we're
the-
sitting there and
Oh.
it's like I did do it for him, and we're all giggling because we know the play happens
So-
at the beginning of Ragnarok.
Fun thing. The other day, I was coming home from work. Guess what Fanny was watching?
Thor Dark World?
Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And she straight up tells me she only wanted to watch it so they can get to the choir scene of Sam Neill and Matt Damon saying, "I want a statue with the big horns." I didn't do it for him.
For real, like Thor Ragnarok makes Dark World a better movie.
Yeah. No, I told you. I told you that would happen.
I think if you listen to some of the interviews behind and stuff, Tom Hiddleston has said that Loki was supposed to die at the end of this film. Like this was that moment where he dies, that was actually supposed to be Loki's death, and that was going to be the end of Loki's character. I do think keeping that and then going into Thor Ragnarok and having the reveal that he's Odin, I do think that still works.
Like, you banished our father? Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I do think that still works. But I don't know. How do we feel about... Do you think Loki should have stayed dead?
I actually don't think Loki should have stayed dead, because I think his death in Infinity War means so much more in that moment than it does if he stayed dead in Thor: The Dark World.
Which is also
that.
knowing that Infinity War is where he dies, why I kind of don't agree with what you were saying about not knowing he died. I think if we had only found out in Ragnarok he'd come back and then he was murdered again, it wouldn't have worked as well. We need to know that it'd been a trick. But
I will say that Ragnarok does fix a lot of my issues that I have with the ending of Thor: The Dark World, but that doesn't change the fact that those endings are still there.
No, I agree with you. But the other thing I was going to say about it is, well, you stopped me. I don't remember. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, what I was going to say is, Brandon, we can still have maybe not Loki revealing that he was playing Odin on the throne, but when you see that guard with like the Loki shimmer, you know he's not dead. So that way, if they would just done that and didn't reveal that he was on the throne, we would have been fine, because we would have known, okay, Loki's still not dead.
And not lost the moment that was really Odin.
Exactly.
I see what you're saying.
Exactly.
That would have been a nice compromise.
That's a nice compromise.
I also think that if Loki had truly died in this film, that would have been a terrible end point for a good character.
Yeah.
Like, we would be like, man, what a shame he went out on that movie.
As much as I love Chris Hemsworth in Thor Ragnarok, Loki also makes that film, and that is... Both of those are amazing. Those actors are amazing in that
Ryan
film.
also pointed out when we were watching this how terrible Malekith looks like once he takes in the ether, because it's black makeup on a black costume, and he's just
he looks like garbage.
Lame.
And
it's terrible.
And it
doesn't. It's a terrible design.
And does, because I've only seen Malekith in like a few pages, and he has straight right down the middle, half white, half
he's
black.
Two-Face.
Yeah, he's a two-faced character.
Yeah,
That's always what he's
so
like.
okay.
Yeah.
So in the comics, Ryan, it's just what he looks like, right? It's just one side's dark, one side's not.
Yeah.
So why create this whole stupid idea that he gets shocked with electricity and that's why happens?
So if he's a dark elf, right? He's pure white, and then Thor screws his face up, and then he turns into Two-Face. That's great. Then why do you turn the other side of his face black?
Yeah, exactly.
He's literally two black faces. It doesn't make any sense at all.
Dumb. It's dumb.
Yeah, it's just
I hate the ether so much.
Yeah.
So the most important thing I noticed this time on the rewatch, though, is that the coat hanger is able to hold up Mjolnir. So I think this answers the elevator question from Ultron.
I think so too.
Oh, yeah. Again, it's not the weight; it's just being worthy to hold it.
Right.
Yeah.
So the elevator.
The elevator is worthy.
Is worthy.
That's a good bit of improv where you're just like,
Yeah, it is. I do like that.
Yeah.
Can we please move on?
Yeah. Please.
I like that we kind of touched on the portal jumping, but I really like that Mjolnir is going away from Earth and then having to come back and turn around.
That was cool.
Those are great innovative uses of like how that tactic works using the portal jumping. It's a shame that that's just one nice.
And Malekith is like a boring villain, but like, and like what he does is boring, but like traveling between worlds, like always falling in between them, is
crashing into the
really,
building and sliding.
Yeah, was really fun.
We get to see Jotunheim again.
Yeah,
we see. This film has two post-credit sequences, right?
Yeah. What was the first? What was the first one again?
The first one is
Benicio del Toro's Collector.
Yeah, that one.
The first one is Benicio del Toro. Is the reveal of Benicio del Toro in a sound stage that's made to look like the Collector's place. I always hate it because you can hear the creak. You can hear the creaking of the floorboards. I'm like, okay, buddy. But then the second one is the Jotun beast.
Thor coming back with Jane, and then the Jotun beast.
That's a fun callback.
Yeah, so it's the Jotun beast, and the Thor and Jane moment. That's actually Chris Hemsworth. That's actually Chris Hemsworth's real life wife, because Natalie Portman couldn't come back for that shot, so they put his wife in a wig and then had that moment.
That's cute.
Yeah, that was cute. Okay, I'm done. Can I move on, please?
Yeah, can we go?
There's no other movies to talk about.
I'll tell you this. As again, I said it at the top. As bad as this movie is, like, there are so many worse movies. If this is the worst you got, like, this is all right.
I have to say, if I was stuck into a room and I had BVS and Thor: The Dark World in front of me, I pick Thor: The Dark World every time.
Yeah, at least it's funny.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Yes. Holy shit! This
I
movie
would
made me
argue-
love Captain America so much.
I would argue, not in terms of comic book movies, but for regular people to watch a movie, I think this is the best in the Marvel Cinematic
Screen
Universe.
This is the first.
In terms of movies, it's the best movie.
This is the first Marvel movie that has Captain America that doesn't use his theme song, and I will forever hate it for
All
that.
right, but here,
That's not entirely true. It's in the opening. I caught it this time when we come
I've
up
watched
in
this
DC.
film so much, and I can never hear it.
When we come up in DC, it's dun 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 dun.
Oh, it's the beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the
And then
very,
that's
very
it?
beginning. No, it's the whole scene while you hear the little like
On your
drums in the
left.
back. It builds real slow, but it is the opening while he's doing the jogging around. That has.
Is it in the
Captain
museum
America
as
theme.
well?
No,
no.
No? Okay.
But it is in the opening. I heard it this time, and I was like, neat.
I always hear that, and I always try and listen for it, but I can never hear it.
Yeah,
No.
it's there.
Okay.
as I was saying, I love one of the things about this movie that just makes me hyped up is that when I saw the honest trailer for it, they're like, we can't really make fun of this because this movie's so good, so prepare for nitpicking.
Yeah.
And they straight up says like, we know these are stupid nitpicks, but they kind of are.
Yeah.
Because this movie is just so damn good, and it's so damn good.
Speaking of good action sequences, every action
Every-
sequence in this
Oh,
movie
Lord.
is awesome.
Oh,
The
Lord,
car
yes.
chase sequence with Fury.
Oh.
By the way, Nick Fury never been better than this moment
Yep.
in this movie.
Yeah.
He is solid in this movie.
oh, yeah.
He
As
just-
this Nick Fury.
He just did
specifically,
an
not
interview. What's his favorite moment from the MCU that he's done, and it's the car chase.
That car chase is
I believe it.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing when they get slammed, and he's got his arm fractured, delivering countermeasures.
Excellent.
The whole thing, when he's attacking people with the cars, up until the Winter Soldier
Air conditioning,
reveal,
fully operational.
that car chase sequence is so electrifying and so awesome. Also, what's equally as great is the opening action sequence on the ship on the Lemurian Star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool with Cap just wiping out the people.
It's some of his best action in any of the movies,
Yeah.
and a good use of his abilities.
I really like the banter throughout the whole movie between Captain America and Black Widow.
Yeah.
Their banter.
Why don't you ask this girl on a date?
Yeah,
All this stuff.
I find it funny.
Yeah.
I
it
just-
doesn't take away from the film.
No,
it's like
it doesn't.
it's common workplace like talking,
Yeah.
but they're like destroying mercenaries on a ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even when he goes into when he sees Widow trying to get all the shield intel, it's like,
Well, this is awkward.
it's like, hey, you're lying to me. She's like, no, you had your mission, I had mine. And then because this movie, it still tells you that Cap is still out of time. Yes, he was in the Battle of New York. He's adjusted a little bit. I mean, he's seen,
used to seeing black and white, and the world's turned gray.
He's seen Star Wars. You can see that's crossed out
Yeah.
on his list. But also, he still holds on to
the
those morals from
the bit when he says when Scarlett Johansson's like, "Do you want to play a game?" It's from a movie. I know. I saw
yeah,
it.
he saw the movie. But still, when Nick Fury is telling him, is like, yeah, you had your mission. He's like, no, that's not supposed to happen. You were supposed to tell your guys what's going on. And Fury's like, dude, you still don't know anything about this modern world that we're in. And he shows them the helicarriers, and he's like, this isn't freedom. This is fear.
You're jumping around a lot. But you're absolutely right.
Well, that whole scene is like him.
no. I want to compartmentalize and talk about some certain bits and just the broad strokes that you just threw up there. The one of them I do really love is the elevator sequence, the elevator scene with Fury and Cap. I think that monologue that Fury does going down the elevator is incredible.
Talking about his dad, how
Yeah.
his dad, was an elevator guy, and
His grandfather.
His grandfather, excuse me, and he used to get a bunch of ones, and then as time grew on, he had to hold those ones a little closer because
Yeah.
got a little tighter, got a little scarier.
Yeah,
Right.
and
In
then
some
you
ways-
and then you open the bag. Is like they see
gun.
a roll one and a loaded 22 Magnum.
Yeah.
In some ways, I think I like Fury more in this movie because of Captain Marvel.
Interesting. Why?
I just
Wait. I think I misunderstood, but I do want you to explain. But yes, go.
Well, I just think I value a lot more of his performance now because we have that full breadth of how far
Yeah.
he's come as a character. So in some ways, I
He's definitely
like
hardened.
him even more now, knowing how much he's evolved
I see.
and how much he's changed. Because we've never known a Fury before,
Right.
kind of who this person is,
Yeah.
and now we do. And I'm like, wow, you've really come a far way.
I agree. And I will say I was absolutely correct. I don't know if this happened to you guys. Maybe I'm alone in this.
It happened to Ben. I already know where you're going, and it happened to Ben.
When the line "last time I trusted somebody, I lost an eye" loses a little bit of its power. That moment is less.
I
lost
was
its power.
at it.
I was gonna save that for
See,
when
that's you're not supposed to giggle at that.
I got a giggle, not from like it's funny, just like he's lying.
no.
He's
So
a liar.
I was gonna say this when I talked about Captain Marvel at the end of the special, but I guess I'll just put this now.
Well, it's referring to this movie.
Yeah, so you're right. because I when I saw it, I laughed. Fanny laughed, and she was like, "Goose." I'm like, "Yeah, Brandon was right. You were right. It does lose some of the."
Because it's supposed to be like a serious.
Yeah, it was
It's a serious moment, and
Yeah.
now it's been turned into a joke.
Yeah.
And I look, the moment still stands in this film, but it does lose a bit of its power.
Yeah,
Gesundheit.
it personally doesn't bother me, but like I absolutely get it. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bless you.
Yeah. I like the showdown between Batroc and Cap.
Yeah, it's real
Hell
cool.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
George
That's real
St.
great.
George St. Pierre, MMA fighter.
Yeah, using Batroc the Leaper in this movie. Wow.
Hell yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
And doing it in that way. I
was
think,
cool.
I think that's really cool.
We finally get the Triskelion, and it looks awesome.
It looks just like it does.
So
Yeah.
what I love about the Triskelion in the sequence is thanks to Ant-Man, we know the Triskelion's been there since the 80s.
Yep.
So like, what did everybody think the Triskelion was there for? If S.H.I.E.L.D. is still a covert operation, then people don't know what S.H.I.E.L.D. is.
Just a big ass office building.
Looking at this building and
It's just a
DC.
random
But it
office
isn't
building.
covert because we got Fury, like right in Captain
of-
Marvel,
official
going,
S.H.I.E.L.D.
official
business.
Shield business. They just throw that around.
Yeah.
It's covert as in you don't know what they're doing,
Yeah.
but like everyone knows they
It's kind of like
exist.
it's like the CIA. You don't know what they're doing, but you know they're there.
Yeah.
Think of it like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still funny to me.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows that that's S.H.I.E.L.D.'s base. Like they just
Yeah.
think it's just this weird.
It's just a
office
random
building.
office
While
building.
we're talking about Fury around that elevator scene, I want to say that I appreciate moments like Fury mentioning Stark replacing the turbines after having an up close look at them,
But
or
tis.
later when he's talking about what he uses to make it look like he died, which is the heart slowing down thing that Banner created for stress. Things like that help flesh out the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
Something that Spider-Man and Homecoming would do in spades.
Yeah. That they just leave like these little things that keep building out. I really appreciate that. And then also, I really like the implication that the World Security Council wants the helicarriers up in exchange for Fury kind of having gotten the Avengers. That there's kind of
Yeah.
this
You
like,
have
that you get
yeah.
this feeling that Fury kind of doesn't love the helicarrier idea, but it's the give and take of what he did in Avengers.
You have your
Yeah.
weapons, we have ours.
Yeah, I like Alexander Pierce a lot.
I love that Pierce, spoilers, whatever. Like we know he's a bad guy, but like at the beginning when Nick Fury's like, "Hey, we need to like put a hold on the helicarriers," he's like, "Yeah, you got it, dude. Whatever.
Yeah.
If you think this is best, like
Yeah.
he is so good at being an undercover bad guy."
Whatever. Sure. Like, and what if you're right?
Yeah.
Then we'll be damn sure. We'll be damn glad those helicarriers aren't in the air.
He's playing right into his plan, though. He's so smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get the sequence when he's talking to Cap in his apartment before he's shot is also really good.
Yeah.
Oh,
A
yeah.
lot. One of the things that this movie is so great at balancing the character moments, the one-on-one character moments, with the large-scale action sequences, and never losing the heart of this is a story about Captain America coming to grips with the world that he's now in. And putting it in like a kind of a 70s political thriller with the Winter Soldier and everything like that. The chase through the hallways when he's just slamming through doors is really cool.
Yeah, dude. Like you really
bumps into a wall, leaves an imprint, keeps going.
Yeah.
You really feel like how powerful both these characters are.
Yeah.
Like they accidentally slam into a wall and it creates like a hole. Like
Yeah.
that's and how fast they are when they're running. Man, Bucky catching that shield
Oh,
is
yeah.
still like a moment.
Yeah.
Like oh god, it's yeah, man. Like, and the Winter Soldier. Like throughout all of the Marvel stuff, like I have a problem with what they've done with him. But I still think for this movie, I like him a lot. For this movie, I like him a lot.
My problems with the Winter Soldier don't start until the next time we see him.
Yeah, which is fair.
They start here?
Yeah.
Okay, why?
We talked about it a little when we were watching it.
But we didn't talk about it on the podcast. So let's talk about it.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it right now.
Hell yeah, babe.
I was setting it up. Let me do my thing. Damn.
The makeup was good.
The makeup was good. Actually, the makeup was terrible in this. What it is that the Winter Soldier, they needed to commit to a decision to either let the audience in on the fact that it's Bucky or decide that that is an anticipation setup. Instead,
Because the audience already knows.
I think it's flat note reveal. If you're an audience member who doesn't know, I think that we should have just known it was Bucky the whole time. That as an audience, and the anticipation should have been for Steve to find out, so that the audience is waiting for that moment. And
I agree with that to an extent, but every single theater I went to for this film when it first came out, which we didn't do initial thoughts, my bad.
I don't remember. It was so long ago.
Every single less time than Iron Man 3, you pulled something out of your ass for that. So when the reveal of the mask comes off Bucky, everyone every theater I went to, there was at least one or two people who go, who didn't know.
I had some common friends who didn't know because
Yeah.
they don't read comics.
And I mean, that's fine. That's great. Like my girlfriend didn't know. That's fine. It's whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about as a film on a rewatch value. After you know the reveal, like I don't think that the structure of it is well set up. I don't.
Okay.
I don't think the reveal is well set up. I don't think that it's well done on intention. Are we trying to keep this a secret, or are we trying to let the audience know?
I will simply argue, and again, like I wish they would have done it where everyone is it's a secret to everyone.
Sure,
But they let the audience know pretty early, like, hey, here's Bucky. Remember this guy? Who is this new mysterious character?
Yeah.
I don't think the audience is supposed to have a mystery about it. I think it's supposed to be Steve, and that you see Steve's experience dealing with this,
And
because it's not new to us. Like this, we know this stuff.
And I wish that was more direct.
Yeah.
I wish that instead, like, it was this thing at the beginning. Like, you could have the, like, initial, like, encounter with the Winter Soldier after he chases him and he fights Fury, but then have a scene where we see that it is Bucky. The audience sees it is Bucky. And don't leave that mystery. When we get to the kitchen scene, don't put a bad block of black fade over his face so that we only see his eyes to hide the fact that it's Bucky, because we know it's Bucky. But have us be anticipating the whole movie, like, when is Steve going to find out? When is Steve going to find out? That's a better tension builder, and that is more fun to watch, especially in rewatch value. So I stand by that for why Bucky Winter Soldier stuff doesn't work for me in this movie.
I totally see it.
So what do we think about Black Widow and Falcon in this film?
Love
I
'em.
like
Yo,
them.
I love Sam Wilson.
Love him.
I think
Love
Sam
'em.
Wilson is so good in this movie.
I think Black Widow's like a step above as well.
As you were saying, the Avengers is better than Iron Man 2. This is better than Avengers.
Yep.
Like this is I think this is the best Black Widow.
I think this is the best Black Widow, 100%.
I think
I have a sense of like who she is actually.
yeah, I think this is the one where she's more of a character. Like we get a sense of
She's a person who has stakes.
Yeah.
And she's like a spy.
she's got stakes in
Yeah.
in this fight, and she feels very more real and visceral.
the best line that she has is like, I only pretend to know everything.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's so good. Of course, the spy would say
And
that.
the
That's
bit
okay.
when they're in the classic MCU disguise getup with the hoodie and the
The
baseball
blue
cap
shoes.
and the
Yeah.
when they're walking away, and how she's evading the strike team by being like, okay, put your arm over
Kiss
me
me.
and laugh,
Yeah.
kiss me. Like those things are really cool. I think Black Widow with the Russos is really good. I think every
They
film
get her,
that
yeah.
she's been with and the Russos has been really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Falcon too. I think he's great.
However, this is my least favorite hair. This is my least favorite Black Widow hair. I think her hair in Civil War is the best.
I agree. I think.
I mean, it's hair. I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, it's Scarlett Johansson looking
I'm not
pretty.
gonna charge at you.
Red
because
hair,
you-
don't care.
Yeah.
because you're gonna-
She's always looking pretty with red hair. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't like the straight hair on her. I don't. Think
I really
it
like
works.
curly.
Yeah.
Curly hair.
I agree. I don't like the I do like the way that they keep Peggy Carter involved in this film.
Me
Yeah.
too.
And it is brutal watching her have amnesia.
Makes
or
me-
not amnesia, sorry, Alzheimer's.
Makes me cry every time.
I didn't. The first time I saw it again, what 5 years ago? Like I didn't fully realize that that's what was going on. She had Alzheimer's. I thought I was like, that's a weird thing for her to just say the same thing again. And then I was like, oh, it's because she's really old and she's sick. Oh
Yeah.
man, that sucks.
Yeah.
And every time he visits her, it's like him
the
coming
first
back
time.
all
It's like
over
Groundhog
again.
Day.
It's like, oh no,
Yeah,
Peggy.
it's super
Which
sad.
means that as much as he likes to see her, he in going forward has to minimize how often he sees her because of
Yeah.
how brutal that is every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the stuff with Peggy is real solid in this. I'm really glad they found a way to keep her involved.
Introduce Sharon.
And I like
just Sharon.
I like
Uh-huh.
the transition of it. The museum, seeing him watching video of her when more
Bunch
looking
of old
like
relics. She's
you
an
know
old relic.
like older than she was in First Avenger, but still
Yeah.
like back when she was more recognizable to us, and then going to him, seeing her, and getting the establishment of like most of the reason that Cap is even involved with Shield is because she helped found it.
Yeah.
Is that the like the flashback where she's like, yeah, and then like he saved the person who'd be my
Yes.
husband.
Yes.
Yep.
And even after death, he's still impacting my life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, poor Steve.
Yeah, I like I love that so much. I also really like how I like his costume in this one. The Winter Soldier costume is,
Yes,
I think it's a pretty good one. The fight sequence in the elevator is another sequence where I'm like, that's damn impressive.
Every
That
time
is.
I watch it, I'm just like, yeah, you did it. Hell yeah.
Every time.
like, that must have been a nightmare to shoot.
I just love to see all those people just get in there one after another, and then like.
And then
Steve
how he starts to cue in like
They're holding their
oh,
guns. They're starting to sweat. They have a bunch of briefcases. Like,
and then he's like, before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
So
I
good.
thought I always thought it'd be funny if some guy in the back's like, can I get up on the second floor, please?
And I was worried that they revealed too much in the trailer with that
Yeah.
shot. Nope, that's a pretty long scene.
The whole Hydra reveal was kept away from the trailers.
Yeah,
See,
thank
so
God.
that's the reveal I feel should have been hid from the audience, but Winter Soldier should have been known.
I see.
That's the
Instead of
misdirection
both.
I
Yeah.
wish the film had.
Because I do remember when I first saw, because I don't think we're clued in on Hydra until we knew
we
like,
didn't even know Hydra
well
was a
we
thing.
well
Yeah, yeah.
we didn't know, we knew that Hydra was inside Shield, but we didn't know who was who. But when the big because we go to the army base in Jersey and we see
Arnim Zola?
Zola's like computer brain say, yeah, Hydra's in Shield. I'm still not gonna tell you who it is.
Got you,
but,
suckers.
But you get
First collection. I am Swiss.
Yeah.
But then you get the senator and what the other guy Sitwell.
Yeah.
He goes over and says
Oh yeah.
that when he whispers
Gary
"Hail."
Shandling's
Yeah,
Gary
appearance,
Shandling.
the second he whispers "Hail Hydra," I'm thinking, shit.
Iron Man 2 makes more sense now.
Yeah.
I'm like, God.
And then Sitwell showing up in all the movies in the show, you're like, oh, this is so good.
buddy.
This is
Yeah,
so
I was
good.
really, I was really glad that they had Sitwell there to kind
And
of
again,
play
like,
off that thing.
not to bring in the show, but
Even though Hydra being there didn't sit well with me.
the Hydra stuff involving Agents of Shield is the best that show
No,
ever was.
no, don't let him off the hook for that one.
What? I missed it.
You didn't hear it?
No, I missed it.
Oh, Hydra being inside Shield wouldn't sit well with me.
God, no.
I know. You just kept going. I wasn't gonna let that off the hook.
Bad sparks.
That's so
Bad
good.
sparks.
I think I've gotten a pun a movie so
I love
far.
it.
Hold on.
No, it's allowed. I'll allow it.
Boo.
That's good.
Yeah, I all the reveals of who is Hydra and who is Shield.
It's really good.
When Rumlow is about to shoot the guy who was at the
IT
computer.
guy,
Yes.
yeah.
That was also really solid in the fight.
And when Sharon's like, Captain America is, we're playing on a manhunt for Captain America, and we want to know why.
Yeah.
Because he lied to us.
Yeah.
I like the World Security Council stuff.
Yo, Alexander Pierce's like BS. Yeah, Fury was his mom lived next door to this other dude,
Yeah.
and that's why he's dirty. And it's like, yo, that's like the weakest BS cover I've ever heard.
I will say it is BS, but like
I believed him.
I wasn't sure where everything was going, but like I believe that Nick did hire those pirates, and I'm like, ooh, Nick.
Oh yeah, no,
You're definitely dirty, but
it
like,
is confirmed.
why?
It is confirmed that Nick hired the pirates.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he wanted to figure out what's going on with the Lumerian Star.
Yeah.
Why Sitwell there? Like he definitely hired the pirates.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of things that he wasn't sure about, but he's the director
That's
of
definitely
Shield.
still that's still a dirty move.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no, Nick.
So you want to know what's interesting?
Yes.
I don't remember why, but for whatever reason, at a convention, Sam Jackson cued in that they were taking bits of the Winter Soldier from Nick Fury versus Shield, which is a comic book event where Nick Fury realizes that Hydra was in Shield, and that I had.
It's probably from the 80s, right, or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I could never find that interview. I could never find out where that was or why that was or what it was. But I always had that memory, and I'm not sure why. And that's the only reason why I knew that Hydra was in this movie. Because of this weird,
Damn it,
random memory that I could never relive.
It was really just a dream.
That dream cued me into the spoiler of the movie. But yeah, that was always very strange to me. I don't know what the hell happened there.
I was still like, I didn't know anything about the Hydra and the twist. Like, it totally worked for me.
I had no
loved
idea.
it.
It's well executed. Zola's exposition and the setup of Howard and
Out
Maria's
of
murder
time.
is really
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And
we are both of us out of time.
good.
yeah, I like his green screen look.
Me too.
Before we go too much farther away from it, were you guys ever nervous that Fury was definitely dead?
Nope.
No. I had a feeling.
Go back to when you first saw it. Like, you didn't think that they might have killed Fury off for
No,
good?
I'm trying to think because at this point I knew there was going to be another Avengers movie. I knew he was going to be in that, and I was like, yeah. I mean, it sucks, but they're probably going to pull a switch. They're probably going to.
I know exactly why, and it's actually a problem that I have come to terms with over the years. I knew how many films he had contracted. I knew how many more he had a contract under.
That doesn't mean that they won't kill him before.
No, but I was
Yeah.
watching the film. I was so stubborn. I was like, no way.
I just thought after Avengers and Tony Stark says life model decoy, I'm like, yeah, he's probably fine.
But they wouldn't introduce the life model decoy
But
in the
if-
MCU proper ever.
No, it's an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I'm talking about the films.
No, that is proper.
We're not going to get into that discussion.
I just think because, like, in the comics, like, Nick Fury's entire thing is he's always an LMD. So I just figured, like, maybe this is where they use it. but he just slowed his heart rate like the Hulk, so it's fine.
Yeah. No, I again, I was just a stubborn young kid who was just like, I know how many contracts he has. He's not dead. And
I'm not done till Avengers 3.
I definitely was nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was seeing it, I was like, oh man, I hope they don't kill him. I really like Fury, and I feel like they just started doing cool things with him.
Yeah.
So if they kill him, I'm going to be real sad.
Wow.
Yeah,
He's gotta
that
go
would
back
have
to
been a
the
bummer
past.
because I think he's really good in this one. Maria Hill's in this film for briefly. I like her,
We
but
already touched on.
I
She's
think, yeah.
not utilized enough.
I think that I wish more. Especially, it's a really weird moment when she shows up too, because she's just like when she saves them and
and
she takes the thing off and she's like, "Who's this guy?" He's like, "You took him in.
You should know.
You should know who this guy is. You processed him. You put him in.
I bet
you
that's
threatened
like,
him.
I bet that's like a joke for them too, but like it doesn't work in terms of the movie because you know.
You've been there for like at least 10 minutes now. Why are you just asking?
I think it's just a bad joke that didn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work for me. Anthony Russo's first cameo?
Yeah.
In this movie?
Also, Ed Brubaker is in this movie a little bit.
Oh, is he?
He's one of the scientists who reprograms the Winter Soldier.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I think this movie's really rad.
I think the fight scene that starts
Stop
with...
eating.
No. I think the
We
fight
can
scene
hear
that
it.
starts with... I'll
It's
sit
loud.
further back. I think the fight scene that starts with... what's his name? Winter Soldier taking out Sitwell.
Oh yeah.
That whole
Oh, with the
section.
car?
I think that's actually the best action setting
When he
of
does like
of the whole
flip
film.
off the car and like uses his hand to
Mhm,
scratch.
mhm.
That's a good one.
that whole
Yeah.
sequence all the way to when that ends, when they capture Cap and them. I think that is the best action moment of the
Sitwell
film. Even
gets
though the
murked.
ending is cool and
The
everything,
whole-
that is the best action.
the whole
because
knife
a lot of
fight-
it is more grounded.
The whole knife fight between Captain America and the Winter Soldier is just amazing. Where they lost all their guns and they finally go fist to fist, and the way that they move with a knife, I'm like,
Yeah,
damn.
dude, Winter Soldier's like flipping knives back and forth, going
Yeah.
like stabbing a car and like ripping through it because he's so strong.
I think that's a good sequence. I really like the interrogation of Sitwell. A lot of people.
Stephen Strange.
A lot of people. That's the first thing about Stephen Strange. And a lot of people use
Yep.
that line to, and we'll talk about it a little later when we get to the next special.
Sparks, are you one of these people?
No,
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. A lot of people use that line to cue up the idea that that Doctor Strange takes place before the Winter Soldier.
I'm not this person.
Okay.
And everyone's just kind of like, no. If you listen,
You'd have to be established.
If you listen to Zola's own explanation, the algorithm to Sitwell's own explanation in that same scene, the algorithm predicts what you're going to do if you're a potential threat, not like anyone.
Not
like,
even a guaranteed threat, a potential threat.
Now, a person like Stephen Strange,
he has good tendencies.
he has good tendencies, so he could be a threat.
We would all die because we're good people,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
So like that's where that.
It's just weird that his name is the one that's brought up with the Hulk.
It's
That's where I would almost argue with you, but
it's for us.
it's for the
It's
comic
for
book
us.
nerds.
I'm pretty much done.
the final action scene is super great, and
Uh-huh.
Steve fighting the Winter Soldier. Like I don't want to fight you. You're
The
my
end of
best
the
friend.
Pokemon movie, yes.
Oh, you are my mission, Pikachu. You're very apt, yeah. But like
Brother,
Steve, Steve getting like bruised and beaten to almost to death, like trying to save his friend. Like it's really strong.
I'm with you till the end of the line, Buck.
Yeah, and the helicarrier falls and Bucky pulls him out of the river. And it's a really beautiful shot of him walking away as like the helicarrier is dying.
I wish the line "I can do this all day" was in this movie.
Yeah,
And
save that for Civil War.
That way, it could be in all three films instead of just First Avenger and Civil War.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's the only really.
Also, Robert Redford's death is really cool.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, like what he's like. Hydra.
Sam Wilson jumping out of the building.
41st floor. 41st.
Not like they put the numbers on the outside.
Yeah.
I love the way Black Widow gets the drop on Pierce.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh,
It's
she's
really
posing
good.
as the old lady. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you mentioned something, Sparks, when they have like the buttons on the lapels and like a bunch of the security council
Sure.
dies. You're like, just hold your blazer out a few minutes. It's like, oh, it's warm. Just take it off and you're fine.
Yeah,
You're
I bet
not
you
dead.
could real quickly.
Yeah,
pull
you're
it
not
off.
dead.
Yeah.
It's not something that I'm like
Yeah, it's
nitpicky
not.
about.
You just told me about that. I was like, oh yeah.
I'm gonna read this little one. I really feel for Fury wanting to save S.H.I.E.L.D. when he's worked so long to protect the world, and this feels like a wash on a lot of his work since Captain Marvel. Now,
Yeah.
So Fury not wanting S.H.I.E.L.D. to go away, it actually makes his actions at the end of the season one with the show for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wanting to still have some idea of it exist
Yeah,
and giving
through
that to Coulson. That makes a lot of sense now, looking at the whole narrative of Captain Marvel. If you take that into the show seriously, but like even just from Captain Marvel to Winter Soldier, him being like, no, S.H.I.E.L.D. had all the, I was doing the right thing, I was trying to do the right thing. his commitment to that I really appreciate.
Hydro-
There's another way in
Hydro's
which
already there.
Captain Marvel kind of helps me enjoy things about Fury in this more.
Yeah. All right.
Where was Stan Lee in this one? Oh yeah, he's I'm so fired.
I'm so fired. Yeah. So any last thoughts we have?
Winter Soldier's amazing.
So we put up a poll on our Instagrams. We got some choices here. Asked what out of these 4, what's your favorite? Ben voted, even though he wasn't supposed to.
You didn't say not to, so
You're on this show.
Yeah, and you know which one my favorite is.
So it's
Is it Winter Soldier, Ben?
No,
it's Avengers.
So
Good job, Ben.
Yeah.
Phil Better, the Phil Better Show says Winter Soldier on the Pave Media Network. Downright Nerdy Podcast says Winter Soldier.
Hell yeah.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
At Sam_Frankie_Sully. Why is this even a question? Of those 4, clearly Avengers.
Yeah.
Oh, I know who that is. I love her. She's great.
Richard, our friend Richard.
Richard?
Richard C. Whatever. Winter Soldier. There you go.
Yeah.
And Mike Matola.
yeah.
Avengers.
Oh man, this is great.
Yeah.
And at Magneto. Iron Man 1. That's not a choice. You don't get to vote.
I appreciate
Maybe
it.
they meant Iron Man 3.
Nope.
Maybe.
Iron Man. I know this kid.
Okay.
He meant
Okay.
Iron Man 1.
Wow, that's a lot more. Usually I feel like it's always just default to Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Not just in this batch of 4, but like across the whole MCU, it feels like it always defaults to Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that there are people who are like, no, Avengers, man. And
Yeah.
because I'm one of those people. So that's dope.
Yeah,
So
Avengers.
since we're done,
Mike, you're my people.
So since we're done, Ben,
Yeah.
I'm going to throw up a spoiler warning just in case.
Just in
I mean,
case.
we've been spoiling whatever, but just
These
in
are
case.
all old
Oh,
movies.
wait. Are we like just not going back to the 4 at all at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your favorite Stan Lee cameo of the 4?
Oh,
Of these 4?
probably I'm
Of
so
these 4.
fired.
Yeah,
Probably I'm so fired.
I'm so fired.
They're
Yeah.
actually not the strongest Stan Lee
Because
cameos.
they're all
Not.
kind of just
Go
like
around.
they're kind of like the middle ones. Like
Yeah, I
two
think
superheroes
it's
in
almost.
New York.
I think it's almost definitely
Like
the
in
Winter Soldier
Avengers,
one.
it was fine because it's like superheroes in New York because he
It's
created all these-
cutesy,
Yeah.
yeah.
But then I think the best one is when he's walking a security officer. He's like, I'm so
Yeah, that's
fired,
probably
and
it.
you see the original Cap suit gone from the museum. He's like, yeah, dude, you're fired.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Oh, real quick, you talk about the everything that's happened. Everybody needs a little. We're going to need a little old fashioned. I think that he remembered that line when he goes to get his old suit because we need a little old fashioned.
Hell yeah.
I think that line was a play.
Yeah.
At any rate, so that'll do it. Again, spoiler warning for Captain Marvel. Ben, what did you give us your thoughts on Captain Marvel? But please make them brief.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. Thanos is screwed, no doubt about that. He is screwed with a capital S. But listening to your guys' review, it was enjoyment level. It was around Doctor Strange level. It's still a good movie. It's still a fine movie. I love how they simplified Carol Danvers' origin story, so it's not a super convoluted Green Lantern story. I didn't really remember that Marvel was a man in the books, but they changed it to a woman.
Man, baby.
But I loved how Annette Bening was Captain Marvel, and I have to say the Skrulls' turn as them being the not the true villain of the film was a really, really good take, because I was remembering when we did Guardians of the Galaxy, the Dan Abbott run, that there was a Secret Invasion tie-in where Skrulls are escaping and they don't want to partake in the Secret Invasion. So not all Skrulls are bad, but it still opens up that Skrulls can be a villain if the MCU does decide to do Secret Invasion. So points there. Jude Law was fine. I loved Brie Larson in this movie. I thought she was hilarious. How she had a good point of like snarky, and then when she's fighting the Skrull ship going, ah! was
Yeah, I
just
like that.
hilarious. The 90s references weren't too bash over your head. The scene where she's talking to Maria and Monica is really cute. I love that. Everything with Goose, but I do have to admit, I was kind of like, really? Especially when Goose cuts Fury's eye. That was my main part where I'm just like, seriously?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that's how he gets it, because he does trust a cat. Then I don't know. I don't really agree with it, but it's something I'll accept, because you're right. With that scene in Winter Soldier, is like last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye, and even kind of takes away when he lifts up his eye patch to reveal to Pierce that you caused this, but in reality he didn't.
Yeah.
Also, I do kind of like how when he was writing it was originally called the Protector Initiative, and he looks over at that picture of Carol on her plane and says, Carol Avenger Danvers. That's our call sign, so that's how we get the name of the Avengers. And you hear the Avengers theme swell, and you're like, yes, I can't wait.
So many people are mad, dude.
So many people are mad.
Well, excuse me, not so many people. All the angry white dudes are mad.
She's the reason for the Avengers. Meh. Meh.
Who cares?
My mom's basement. Meh.
Sorry.
I really enjoyed this movie. It's a fun movie. It's a fun romp, and that ending sequence with where she flies in and they have her beeper and it just stops and she's like, "Where's Fury?" I'm like, I can't wait for Endgame now. This is great. And as someone who doesn't really know much about Captain Marvel, seeing this movie, I was like, okay, this is good. I want to read some Captain Marvel now.
I got like 4 number ones so you can read because they keep relaunching her.
Yeah, can you stop doing that, Marvel, please?
Well, hey, tell those books to sell.
They sell. That's not what they sell because they're relaunched, not because they aren't canceled because they don't sell. A new number 1 sells a hell of a lot more than a new number 5.
No, I know that's a problem.
Yeah, but I enjoy it. I would say I would give it a 7.5 rating.
Cool.
It's good. It's a good movie. It's very enjoyable. I can't wait to add it to my Marvel collection, and it completes the
Your
thing.
Marvel collection is shockingly small.
Yeah, just don't worry about it. It'll grow.
Mine's non-existent.
You live with him. You live with Sparks.
No, that's why mine's non-existent. He has it.
So that'll do it, I guess.
Hell
for
yeah.
us. The next journey.
Real quick before we go too much further, because we've been doing chronology order. We saw Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel, you would place Brandon.
Before Iron Man and
Man.
after Captain America.
Yeah. So after First Avenger, and then you just watch that post credits when you're coming around towards Infinity War.
Yep.
Just skip that. And everyone feel pretty comfortable with the chronology we just had for these 4.
Yeah.
Cool.
This was release order. It was very easy.
Yes, but you and I have talked about, and I guess we'll decide after we do our next batch whether or not
That's
Guardians
gonna be
should
the
go before
question,
Winter
yeah.
Soldier.
That's the question. So the next batch on our journey
Part 2, Phase 2.
is part 3.
Oh, part 3, Phase 2.
We are now in part 3. If you guys are following along, it'll be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Avengers: Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, Captain America: Civil War.
Man, those are all pretty good movies, you guys.
Those are juicy movies.
In that order, as we have decreed it thus far. So,
I love it.
all right. So thank you guys so much for listening. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who contributes. As always, you can be found on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all at Fake Nerd Podcast. FakeNerdGuys@gmail.com if you'd like to get in touch with us personally. I'm a BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. Ben
Magnet27 on Instagram and Twitter.
Ryan,
DJ Tony Snark at everything.
Sparks.
Sparks Witty on Instagram, SPARKZ Witty.
If you're listening to this and you know where to find us, rate and review wherever you get us. We greatly appreciate it. Until next week, guys.
Ba 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 ba.
Stay fake nerds.